Yeah,
God,
so
the raccoon meme.
welcome everyone to the cast. We got the whole crew here today. We didn't think we were gonna have the whole crew here today, but we do have everyone. So that's gonna be pretty dope. And today's topic, the episode name is Mark of a Masterpiece. And so, what does that entail? Well, that's kind of the problem. When people talk about shows that are regarded as masterpieces, some people mean very, very different things when they use this word. Some people just use it to describe their favorite shows. Some people use it to denote, certain aspects of the medium that they feel like are standout. Some people, I've heard it used to simply refer to classics. And so like, there's a lot of things that go into this, and there's been a lot of buzz about some of the shows that are airing right now. So I thought it would be a really interesting, talking point to just kind of talk about what do we think makes a masterpiece, and where does some of the discourse go wrong? Like, because we end up with tweets like this, and I don't know. Some of these tweets are so ugly, bro. I can't even.
Dude, let me tell you, I saw this one like on my own, just in like passing in my own TL, and then I had to like go look for the other ones, and let me tell you, man, it was like a cesspool. Like, there's one that's like super funny that like I don't know if we're gonna look at it, but man, any Twitter is its own breed. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
How these people read this.
Yeah.
Tweeting should not be an inalienable right. That's all I'm saying. But
That
let's
is
see what they have to
true.
say.
That is true. So this first tweet. So like, of course, like I think we all know that, the most talked about series this season is definitely Spy X Family. At least by like mainstream anime watchers, it is definitely the show that's in the forefront of most discussion for this season. And as always, whenever there's a show that's so we need to structure this in the right way. So for those of you who don't know, when shows hit the mainstream, a lot of very extreme language gets used about these shows. Very, very extreme. And to the point where it feels like, people don't have anything in the middle. It's either the show is a masterpiece, as a lot are saying, or it's dog shit. there's no, hey, this show is pretty good. It's pretty solid. I'm enjoying it. It's always, this is the best thing I've ever seen in my life. This literally cured cancer. Or, oh my God, I can't believe that this show exists. It fucking gives me a genital disease. Like, it's crazy.
And then when the dreaded, like if someone just thinks it's like okay and they call it mid, it just comes like that.
Yeah, they get hounded. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We've all been there. We've all had shows that have been the most popular, and we as refined gentlemen always watch the shows before we make our opinions. Which not everyone does. Some people just are from the outside looking in, and they're like, I don't like things that people like, so that fucking shit sucks. And so, there's a lot of bad faith that gets injected into these conversations for sure as well. And it's like, I'm seeing it with Spy X Family, and it pains me because Spy X Family is like a really, it's a really wholesome show, right? Like it's a really feels good show.
This is a show you show your parents, You don't have to feel embarrassed if your parents walk in on Spy X Family.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And so like, that's why like sometimes some of the discourse is just like, bro, can we not just enjoy what Wait and Cloverworks are giving to us? Because man, did they flex on that last episode.
Oh yeah.
This entire like week of the seasonals was like actually phenomenal. Like every show came through.
Yeah.
Like Spy X Family, like, included in that.
Yeah, except for Tomodachi Game. That show fucking sucks.
I don't know what you're talking about. That show's great. I've never. I legitimately. It reminds me of It's Always Sunny for whatever reason. Like it does. It's not an exact fit, but it just reminds me of the Dennisism. The Dennis system.
It reminds you of a show that it's not trying to be at all.
Yeah, that's true. I think that represents a fundamental issue, right? Like, why is this like Always Sunny? This doesn't make any sense.
It's trying so hard to be serious, and it just comes off as a satire. That's a problem.
Oh my god!
People love It's Always Sunny, man.
That's
that
true.
show's awesome.
Let's be fighting words for some people.
that show's awesome because it's actually accomplishing what it's trying to do. Tomodachi Game is getting a different result for trying something completely different.
I think we can all agree that Tomodachi Game is nowhere near a masterpiece. So
Definitely not. Definitely not.
maybe we
Nor-
should
nor is
get
Platinum
back on
End.
topic a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? So this first tweet, nobody is calling Spy X Family a masterpiece. People are simply enjoying it because it's cute, and for some reason that has people upset. Now this, I don't know who this is. How big of a following do they have? Okay, their following's not that big. So like this
This
got a
is
lot of
definitely-
traction, right? Like this
Yeah,
is a
this is
ton
definitely
of
the tweet
engagement.
that blew up because of the discourse that happened.
Yeah, and so like, the problem with structuring your conversation in this way is that when you make statements like this, like the opening statement, nobody is calling Spy X Family a masterpiece. We know this is just not true. We know for a fact that this is not true because any show that makes it into the mainstream is always gonna have people. Like, you got to understand, like, people that watch anime come in all shapes and sizes and experiences, and so like a lot of people haven't watched that many shows. Of course, they haven't watched that many shows. Spy X Family might be like, you know, the first time they're watching a show week to week, for that matter. And so like they might really be fucking with it. It might be the best thing they've ever seen, and they might be more inclined to use some of the stronger language surrounding, you know, the show as opposed to someone else. And so like that's why. Like I don't like the sweeping generalization of like nobody's calling him like, obviously, come on, bro. Like any I think pretty much like for me, when we're talking about like what do people call masterpieces, what don't people call masterpieces, like honestly, it's such a wide range, right? Because I think there's a lot of perspective that goes into you know, is something a masterpiece to you or is something not a masterpiece? But like in my mind, like anything that realistically could be rated like between like 8 and 10 is liable to have people calling, like some people calling it a masterpiece. Because you know, like I said, the top echelon is pretty wide, and scores can vary pretty vastly from person to person depending on, you know, personal taste, of course. God forbid people have personal tastes and they like things because it you know, appeals to that, as opposed to you know, I just like this because everyone else likes this. I don't know. So I would like to hear from you guys. Like what like to you, when you hear the word masterpiece, what do you think about? Like what immediately comes to mind when you think of the word masterpiece?
Do we want to go in some order, like down the list?
Yeah, let's
anybody else wanna
just go
first?
down and call. So we'll start with Bobby, and then we'll go to Dylan, and then Jeffrey, and then
Oh man,
Miguel.
all I can say is I have a very, like, I don't really have like a really defined definition for masterpiece.
Mhm.
I feel like it's a lot easier to say something is a masterpiece in like some sort of more specific context. Like
Mhm.
I think when you watch enough anime, you kind of get the feeling that the medium is so broad in what it's able to accomplish that I really struggle to like think of like what a masterpiece is, because like I don't know, like am I supposed to say like what is a masterpiece in like comedy? Like maybe I could have my own opinion, but
Mhm.
I feel like it's not even that well defined. I feel like at the end of the day for me, a masterpiece is like just a really personal type of thing,
Mhm.
and it's usually like defined by some context, because like it's not like if I rate a show a 10 out of 10 that means
it's
I
a
think it's a
masterpiece. Yep.
masterpiece, you know, like
Mhm.
but at the same time, like, yeah, like it's so fluid to me. Like it doesn't really matter to me what a masterpiece is like in an objective state, because like I feel like people just will never agree regardless.
That's definitely fair. What about you, Dylan? What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Bobby. I feel like it's masterpiece is something that like something that like resonates emotionally with you a lot of the time. Like there's like a lot of shows I like give 9s, but I wouldn't consider them like a masterpiece or anything, just because it didn't strike with me as much as say like some other shows did. I just feel like it's too loose a term for it to be really a label for anything.
Could agree with that. Jeffrey?
All right. I went a little bit of a different route with like my thought process, because I was thinking about this a lot yesterday. Like when you told us that like we were like gonna do this as the topic, I like thought to myself like, yeah, like I know what to say. And then I like yesterday I was like, man, what the fuck is art? And I like just went down this like mental rabbit hole. Like when we were doing the watch party and shit, and like I'm gonna try to abbreviate my thoughts as best as I can to like avoid taking up like the entire podcast. But I think that first of all, the reason why this type of topic is like very hard to talk about is I think there is people need to make the distinction of like what anime is, because like for most media you can try to classify it as like purely entertainment media or something that is like an artistic medium. And this is not like just like limited to anime. Like you can consider this for like television, film, like theatrical productions, like the list goes on. Like anything that can like be seen or like considered as both. And like the difference between like entertainment media and like artistic mediums is that like entertainment media is like its primary purpose is to like, you know, produce an experience that's like easy and like enjoyable to like consume, something that's like, you know, widely appealing, something that like that can facilitate like easy word of mouth, just something that like, you know, becomes like integrated into pop culture very easily. Like it's built on that philosophy. Whereas like artistic mediums, there's like really like no defined purpose. Like you can like argue that a point of commonality is that like they try to like convey themes in unique ways. But to me, and like let me know what you guys think of this. To me, for something to be considered a masterpiece, needs to either be created with the intention of being art, perceived and accepted as art, like within an artistic media. Like that's kind of like where I lie, and like when I'm trying to like constitute what makes a masterpiece.
Okay. I mean, I could see like where you're coming from on that. But like as we talk about, you know, any type of objective criteria, which makes conversations like this so hard, of course, you know, there are always going to be people that disagree, right? There are always people like,
for sure.
This guy doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about. I see pretty colors. I think it's a masterpiece. And so you know that puts people more like us in a tough spot, because like, you know, there's a certain level of objectivity we like to have whenever we're talking about anime, just given how much we've watched and how deep we go into conversation about, you know, a lot of different things. Like we talk about this medium to a super large extent. So for us, it's like, you know, trying to glean some type of objectivity about, you know, a term that literally could be interpreted in any way. It just creates a natural, like, I don't know, it's like abrasion in a way. It's like you're trying to find meaning where, you know, in some cases there might not be an actual straightforward you know, answer for this question, but we can do the best we can. And so like, you know, I think your definition, Jeffrey, in some ways is very good, and I could vibe with that. But like, you know, I don't know.
I was thinking about like, you know, the objectivity versus like subjectivity like conversation when I was thinking about this, because I think like most people like fit into like either camp, and like if anybody like aligns himself with the opposing camp, then they just like it leaves a bad taste in their mouth whenever they're talking to these types of people. Like if I had to like align with like, is art like objective or subjective, I would lean more towards objective. That's just like the type of person I am. Because I think that there are merits to like both sides, where like objectivity, because like you believe that there is like like established standards that you can like follow, like it'll help you on the path to creating better art, because you believe that your art can be better based on objective standards. And so it really like fosters like this mindset driven by like self-improvement, which I'm like very down for. Like, you know, like I was a musician, and like music to me is like art, and if your music like sounds like shit, then you can't really like argue like otherwise. Like all that's left to do is like get better, you know?
Yeah.
And you judge like how good you are like objectively. And like I can understand like the subjective side of things, because like the main merits of like the subjective viewpoint is that you're not tied down to like these like widely imposed standards, and you generally have more freedom in what you think that you can create or what is possible. And this kind of leads to a lot of works that can become groundbreaking and like break the molds and stuff. So, and like, the idea of art being in the eye of the beholder type shit. So there's merits to both, but like this is like, the point of contention is like, is a masterpiece like just purely subjective, which is I think like Bobby and Dylan are like more leaning towards that camp, or is there like a level of like objectivity to it that you can like inject?
What do you think, Miguel? Where do you fall when we're talking?
Definitely more in like the subjectivity thing.
Okay.
But like, I mean, I know what Jeffrey's trying to get at though. I'm gonna like name drop our first show.
Okay.
Because it's not a show I think is a masterpiece at all, but it's a show that definitely knows what the hell it is. It's somewhere, I think probably all of us would agree, somewhere between good and great, probably a little bit more. And it's Gurren Lagann.
Okay.
Like Gurren Lagann is just a show like everyone, like you watch the show and it's just batshit. It knows what it is. It's really good, and like it's a good show. Blah blah. But it's like everything, given that like it knows what it's trying to do and it succeeds at it. It's like, would you try and call it a masterpiece? I probably wouldn't, because like, I mean, that's just how I feel. But it's like, I could definitely see someone trying to argue it. It's like, I don't know. What do you guys think of like that?
There's definitely like a tweet that I gave Khalil if Khalil wants to bring it up. It's like the very last one.
Okay.
It's like the last one in that long chain where it mentions like genre in it.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, like
if you want to bring that up.
Yeah, I got it.
This guy's definitely like being like a little toxic, like kind of like the common like Twitter gremlin.
Twitter.
But this one, like, this is like not too long of a line of conversation, but like the guy he's like quote retweeting essentially said that like, oh, like anime that doesn't do anything wrong is like, what is like considered a masterpiece by a lot of people, and like and then he goes on to say like, who genuinely thinks that Spy X Family is the best anime that they've seen. And then this guy comes in saying, my brother in Christ, have you considered that not everything needs to be grim, dark, and edgy to be a masterpiece? Spy X Family is a masterpiece of its genre. Now, the first part is definitely like him just like, speaking on his own values a little.
Yeah, for sure.
But the last part he says is like, kind of like, so we could talk about this. Like, Spy X Family is a masterpiece of its genre. Now that like implies that like he's thinking that like a masterpiece is like, we can try to like put like established parameters for what a masterpiece is, and I think this is something that we can like turn into a conversation.
It's definitely interesting. Oh
no, go ahead.
It's definitely interesting because like I think in my mind there's like such a gated idea of what a masterpiece is, and like I feel like the expectation for a lot of people, including myself at times, just like subconsciously, even if it's like a little unrealistic, is for it to be like quote unquote perfect, right? Like I feel like a lot of people's expectations for, well, if it's a masterpiece, it has to have zero flaws. There has to be like nothing you can fault it for, which is like kind of ridiculous, because it's like people could be upset about like pretty much anything, like some things don't bother some people and certain things do bother others. Like some people think that the mechanics of like the world and like the plot and stuff, like how things are interacting, need to be realistic, and some people are kind of more forgiving and like able to suspend their disbelief for like that type of thing also. So it's like the balance is like very difficult. So I guess like the thing that would need to be defined is like how loose of a definition is masterpiece, because it's clearly like somewhat tight, like only a few things can be a masterpiece, but like how much wiggle room is there to be a masterpiece?
Yeah, so especially when we're talking about genres, so like genre I think is like actually a pretty all right way to subdivide if we're gonna talk about standouts amongst its peers, because obviously like when we're talking about when we're comparing shows across genres, that's something that's extremely hard to do, and that is why that's why the number rating system is flawed, like in and of itself.
For sure.
Because something that is an 8 for comedy is not the same as something that is an 8 for compelling narrative. Those are two different things. And so like when we're talking about, you know, being a masterpiece of your genre, I think that gives some much needed, you know, kind of subdividing, because the scope is too broad. And if we're talking about something that is, you know, as gilded of a term as masterpiece, I think there has to be some way that you break it down and kind of make sense of everything, because it's going to be a bunch of terms just floating out in space until you give it, you know, give it form and give it structure. And so, like, my example, when people ask me what show would you consider a masterpiece, I would think I have a few, but what always comes to mind first is Madoka. And the reason that I consider Madoka a masterpiece is because within its genre, it's a game changer, complete game changer. It did something that nothing else in its genre had ever done before, and it changed the face of the genre as a whole. You can literally notice a distinct difference of magical shows before Madoka and magical girl shows after Madoka. That is genre defining, genre changing. And so, like, on top of it being quality, because of course you can do shit that no one else is doing, but if it's garbage, then it's garbage. But we know Madoka is not garbage, and it also, you know, did a ton of things for its own genre, and so that's what leans me towards, like, okay, this could be considered a masterpiece. Now, some people will obviously disagree, and to, like, what you were trying to say, just like masterpieces don't all have to be perfect. There can be flaws in masterpieces. It's human created art, so, like, there's gonna be flaws. There's no such thing as perfection here. And to that same degree, like, just like if you give something a 10, right? If you give something a 10, in my eyes, that doesn't mean that it's flawless, but it can represent what you think may be the ceiling, right? That is at least to that point. Like, for example, I have 10s on my, we all have 10s on our lists, right? Those represent, like, peak of what I've seen, not necessarily peak of everything ever, forever, all time, right? And these things can change with time. Like, maybe as more things come out and quality raises over time, then, you know, those bounds can be shifted. But I think we've seen that as well. Like, we talk about things that don't age very well. You know, sometimes your score can go up or down depending on time. It really just depends. But yeah, I think genre is a good talking point when we talk about, you know, what's a masterpiece and what's not. Because, like, what the fuck do you call a masterpiece of comedy? Like, what are we gonna say? Like,
definitely not the same thing as a masterpiece of action or mystery.
Yeah, definitely not.
Sure.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
Especially with comedy, because, like, when you're watching comedy, you could just be. I could watch, like, a quote unquote comedy that people think is hilarious and just be stone faced. I just don't think it's funny.
Yeah, for sure.
If I don't think it's funny, it's like, all right, your show is failing, obviously. But to me, but, like, you know, other people, like, it's just like,
this is not fulfilling its purpose. Like,
yeah, it's like those memes that are like millennial humor versus boomer humor versus Gen Z humor.
Yeah,
and it's just like, because, like, I don't know, just an example, like the millennial humor was like, I hate my wife, and, like, the boomer humor was the boomer humor was I hate my wife. The millennial humor was I hate my life, and the Gen Z humor was like armadillo.
Jesus Christ.
And it's just like, it's true, you know? Like,
yeah, no, it is true. It is true, and that's what makes it so. God damn it, man.
Bro, like, I just, this isn't an anime, but yeah. Friends, one of the most wildly popular sitcoms, like, ever, and now it's just, like, extremely popular to hate on Friends because it doesn't age well. It's just like, and that's all I really need to say about
that.
Happens.
Yeah,
but it's just
that
thing
definitely
that
happens. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, there are, like, and to that degree, right, I was talking about before, like, how some people use the term masterpiece or, like, classics, right? Like, if someone walked up to you and was like, you know, I think Evangelion's a masterpiece,
I was about to bring that up. Yeah,
would you be mad? Like, I feel like you wouldn't be, right? Like, I feel like if someone said that to me, I wouldn't have a guttural response. I wouldn't have a guttural response to it. I'd be like, but okay.
Then, like, everyone here also knows that, like, Ava undoubtedly has flaws.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very obvious ones.
Yeah. Like, we all know Ava has issues, but, you know, I think if someone at least came to me and said that, and they also had, you know, I'm all about, you know, backups to your claims. I don't like people just stating shit without anything to follow up. As long as you have, like, reasonable follow-ups to it, I'm like, okay, that I mean, I could see where you're coming from. You know, Ava gotta be one of the most referenced anime of all time on top of that as well, so its impact cannot be denied. Like, we all know how much the show has impacted the medium as a whole, and, like, for that reason, it's like, yeah, okay, I could concede that. Even if I don't agree with it personally, I could be like, yeah, okay, I think that makes sense. Some genres obviously will be way harder. I don't think you can name a masterpiece for comedy. I don't think that's possible. Just given how, you know, how vastly reception changes from person to person. But when we're talking about, you know, things that are serious, serious narratives and stuff like that, I think you might be able to, just depending on, you know, kind of what it exists around. 'Cause some genres are definitely given more love than others, and there's also a lot more volume for certain genres as well. So let me ask you directly, like, okay, Bobby, you've seen more than all of us.
Yeah, sure.
You've seen more than all of us. Is there a show that you think in your mind, you're like, okay, this is a masterpiece amongst all the shit that you've seen? Whether that is within a genre, whether it's as a whole, like, is there a show that like sticks out like that for you?
When you brought it up earlier, I did immediately cling to the idea of Madoka Magica. Because, like, again, it's like, I don't know, I was saying this before, but I feel like there needs to be like some context as to like what you define as a masterpiece. But like in my mind, like when I think of like my personal like favorite shows, I'll think of like the Monogatari series, and I think about everything it accomplishes so well, and like that series in itself does so much, like action, romance, mystery, like it does, like, I feel like a little bit of everything. And in my mind, like when you have a show like that is in itself so broad, it's the easiest thing for me to cling to think to myself, like, this is well executed, this is like powerful, this does like everything. Like to me, the Monogatari series is maybe the closest thing, but even then I recognize that there are problems, I guess.
I haven't seen Gintama, but just given of the way you talk about it and with a little bit I do know about it, would you just say that about Gintama too? Because like Gintama is pretty broad. Gintama can excel at a bunch of different things.
Yeah, Gintama is another series that kind of does like everything. It's a little different in that, like, it definitely focuses on certain aspects of itself a lot harder than others. But I think that's kind of just like indicative of a lot of my personal favorite shows, is that they are extremely broad in what they are allowed to do. Like when I watch the show, I come in having kind of an expectation set, but it just kind of continues to expand, and I can kind of like rely on these shows in a way to like do anything like pretty well. And that to me is like in itself very masterful.
What about you, Jeffrey? What do you think? Is there a show that sticks out to you as
I want to like, yeah, like well, first of all, I'll elaborate more on like what I would like define as a masterpiece in anime specifically, because I definitely like try to be more general starting off, but like to me, like a masterpiece in any, like, it is heavily based on like the medium in which it exists in. So like a masterpiece of anime is like different from a masterpiece of like television, film, theater. Absolutely. But like when I was thinking about that, I said to myself that for me to like call something a masterpiece in anime, it has to like craft an experience around the aspects of anime that make it a unique artistic medium. Like to me, like anime is like defined by the way it handles audio visuals. Like it literally is different from every other existing medium in that regard. Like visuals are like, you know, traditionally like hand drawn, and the way that they make them move, like the philosophy is just different from every other medium. And you know, the way audio is handled is like, you know, similar to like most other mediums in terms of like how it like handles music, but there are a lot of like unique caveats, like the way seiyuu culture is in Japan, and the way that they record and like gather their like minute sound effects. I feel like that's very different than anything else that I've seen. So like to me, the thing, or should I say things that like jump out to me as like this is a masterpiece of the medium, like this is what I would consider like peak anime, is A Silent Voice and Liz in the Bluebird. Now, many of you may have like heard of A Silent Voice and may have seen it. If you haven't seen Listen to Bluebird, I understand because it's tied to an existing series that you may not have seen. But these are films, by the way. These two films are like cut from the same cloth. Like they were made like by the same team, in the same studio, and under like the same like philosophy. Like these films like maximize everything that is anime to me, and tell like a story in a way only anime is capable of. Like I'm not gonna go too deep into like the way the plot is structured because I feel like by my definition anime like does audio visuals like uniquely, and how like they integrate that with the other traits of like an exceptional experience, like like story, like world building, character writing, like etc., and how they integrate those aspects into the experience. Man, like I love everything about these films and like what it stands for, because like the main ethos of A Silent Voice is that there are like, in reality, like there are many barriers to like how you communicate with each other, but there are ways that you can like convey your feelings to someone through methods other than verbal speaking and words. And to me, that idea is like something that is so perfect for anime just because of how it handles its audio visuals. Like the idea that there is a level of expression that is unspoken, and something that you can only experience through like visuals and sounds through your ears.
Mm-hmm.
The reason I bring up A Silent Voice more than any other work in this medium is because there's actually a version of A Silent Voice that completely removes the dialogue. It's called Inner Silence among its fans, and it was included on like the Blu-ray, where it's like an augmented like OST that goes along with the entire film. The dialogue is completely removed, and it still hits just as hard. Like to me, like that is like such like an anomaly in the medium that like, man, like only like a medium like anime could have pulled this off.
Mm-hmm.
Like
So to be, just to like be clear, right? So I think when I think about like A Silent Voice, there are definitely like themes and a lot of the symbolism in terms of like when we see through the main character's perspective and we see how he views like other people, like literally like how he views them, like how it is presented to the audience in which he sees people, like the X's. But like, so for example, like that's something that I think is probably like most effectively pulled off in anime. But I think of like another really, really great series, and I have to wonder about like Monster, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know if Jeffrey, I don't think you've seen Monster, right?
I also have not.
But I think Monster as like a mystery story is like, I guess I would consider it like masterclass. Like the manga, if you like read the manga, if you watch the anime, like you'll understand like what makes it so compelling as like a mystery story.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think about Monster, like the anime, I think to myself, like, could this have just been live action and hit just as hard in like very similar ways?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And like when I really think about it, like I guess that's probably the case. Like I feel like there could be a live action rendition of Monster that is like just as good as the anime. Like
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't like the
I feel like it's not
The medium isn't that
wholly
important.
unique to the medium. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I feel like the story is definitely what makes Monster like very standout and very special, but it's not unique to the medium of anime.
Okay. That's a very interesting point actually. Hold on, I want to bring up some we do have a chat, so I do want to bring up some of their stuff in between these points, but
all right.
So one of the things that was a question was oh yeah, I want to address this. So he was saying, okay, how can you consider it a masterpiece if there's only 5 episodes out? I think this is hilarious, by the way.
People were
So
I remember I sent a tweet in the Discord. I sent a tweet in the Discord. And it was something along the lines of, if Spy X Family isn't like your anime of the year, you're like wrong or something. I was like, bro, it's been an episode.
Yeah,
it's been one episode. That was back when there was one. Yeah.
It's been a singular episode. And it's like, yes, Anya's the greatest thing. Like
no, she's fantastic, but My thing, right? So you guys kind of know how I operate. So like this is what I will say, right? I've seen a lot of shows. You guys have seen a lot of shows. We've seen more than most people by far. And one thing that is always a problem, especially when we're talking about airing series week to week, is consistency. We actually haven't done anything spoiler yet, but yeah. So like, airing week to week, there can be an extreme amount of variance from week to week, depending on the team, and there's circumstances and whatnot. God forbid they run into like crunch issues and stuff like that, and then quality gets takes a hit as a result. We've seen this happen. We've seen all cases. So for me, right, even if Spy X Family were the best show that I have ever seen up until this point, it's not. But at least in my opinion, it's not. Even if it were, though, I would not call it a masterpiece, even after the first season was done. And the reason is because I know that part 2 is already confirmed. And to me, when we're talking about masterpieces, I think of a complete work, right? Like it all is a complete work. And so I cannot in good faith name something a masterpiece without having seen all of what it actually has to offer. I don't know how you guys, how do you guys think about that? Because like I personally tend to keep my hands off until, if I know there's a sequel confirmed, I'll wait to watch that and then be like, okay, now this is we could talk about, as a complete work. Is it standout? Is it, the best that the medium has to offer and whatnot?
Yeah, I definitely saw another question in chat, which I could probably talk about now because it's relevant. Like, I think someone asked, like, can like an individual like episode be considered a masterpiece? And this type of question will vary from like depending on what series you're talking about. Like something that is like that has continuity and has like a continuous story, it's probably harder to do that. But things that are like episodic, you can definitely like bring this up. So like when I saw that question, like the first thing that popped into my head was something like Violet Evergarden episode 10.
My gosh!
If people haven't seen Violet Evergarden, it is an episodic series, and like episode 10 is like, in my opinion, like one of like the best directed singular episodes of anime that I have ever seen. Like it's like Violet Evergarden like tells a lot of like vignettes, like these short stories that usually get contained to either like an episode or 2 episodes. And this one, just as a standalone experience, is something that I would in my head, like this is like a masterpiece or very, very close to it.
Okay.
But that's like not saying my full thoughts on the series as a whole, but
of course
I definitely do think that there are standalone episodes that can exist. So it just depends on the series that you're talking about. Something that is continuous, it's harder.
It's definitely
to think
harder.
that way.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to think that way. But like, Ivan brought up a really good episode that we've all seen.
Oh my god, bro!
It's like, all right,
bro.
So the crazy part is, right? Well, I'm sorry to cut you off, Miguel. I'll let you continue in a second. But like, Made in Abyss 10, right? It is a ridiculously strong episode. But the crazy part about it is, I don't even think it's the best episode in the series. I really don't. I don't think it's the best episode out of all the episodes.
I think episode 10 is the one that flips the switch.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
Like, what? Like you don't expect what's going on.
You definitely
Everything
catch
changes.
whiplash. That's facts. That's definitely facts. No, go ahead. I'm sorry I cut you off, bro.
Well, that was just what I was gonna say. I know, I get what you mean, but it's just like not that you don't think the best episode.
Hello?
Hello?
You cut off.
What the? What the fuck?
Sheesh, bro.
He's in the abyss now. Miguel, come back, bro.
Literally in the abyss.
Miguel,
Wait, am I dead?
you cut
yeah,
out,
You're,
bro.
you're good now. You're good now.
My bad. Sorry. I forgot. Okay, so maybe it's episode 10. Like, because you brought up Violet Evergarden, I know that's a episodic show, so it's easier to do that. But you need all of Made in Abyss. You don't just you can't
watch it as a
episode 10.
standalone. And
So it's like, all right, would you call that like a masterpiece episode? I think it's one of the best episodes of the series, obviously, and it's certified.
that's a good question. I feel like if I were to call any episodes in Made in Abyss masterpieces, it would be 10 and 13. but 13 is kind of cheating because it's a double episode.
It's also kind of like a more self-contained,
yeah,
like,
yeah. It sets up a lot for the movie, which I would call a masterpiece personally, but it's hard for people to call, you know, stuff like Made in Abyss 3 a masterpiece because you have to watch the series first. In the first place, there's not everyone has seen the show. You can't just sit down and watch it and expect to like know what's going on. And so for that reason, of course, that term I don't think would apply to like most people. But this is where like that subjectivity that like, you know, Bobby and Miguel and Dylan were talking about, where like it not only I think is extremely high quality, I do think it is a unique experience to the medium, and it also appeals to my personal taste. And that's what
Me
leads to
sitting
me
alone
thinking,
in objective camp here.
no, I
definitely-
am more objective than subject. I really do think I'm more of the objective line of thinking. But when we're talking about continuing series, I think it's way harder. I think it's way harder to be objective, you know, with stuff like that, just because of kind of the product of our environment. Like there's just like not enough people that I think will have seen up to that point to experience that in its full entirety. And I don't know if that speaks more to, you know, the state of anime watchers or the state of the show themselves, but no, go ahead, Bobby.
Yeah, so I have like two things to contribute. So like, first of all, the first thing is obviously there's always the contentious meme of Demon Slayer episode 19. Now,
Yeah,
people
I'm
can
glad you
call
brought
it
this up.
a masterpiece or whatever. Like the memes are so insane. Like
Yeah,
when
they are.
I like literally knew that episode 19 before I finished watching Demon Slayer begrudgingly.
Mhm.
I literally didn't know anything about what was like gonna happen in episode 19, but I kept seeing the memes. Like I
Mhm.
kept seeing the discussion, and I'm like, I watch episode 19, and I'm like, what? Why was this the masterpiece? Like I literally didn't understand. And when I like try to think about what I just watched, and I'm like, why is this a masterpiece? And the only thing I can really think about is like, maybe this is like quote unquote a masterpiece because like, I don't know, the animation like was specifically extremely like insane. Like
Mhm.
that was
Like-
a television anime series with like movie level animation that week. And I
Mhm.
was like,
it's not even like a top 5 thing Ufotable's done.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
well, that's why
Yes.
that's
Obviously, it's
but
still-
but that's why, right?
Yes.
That is why I bring up context, right? Like there's so many things that like, you know, in context, if Demon Slayer is your first UFO table show, you're probably going to be blown away. I can't lie. You will be blown away by the animation. It's only whenever you've watched UFO table stuff before, when you've watched Fate, when you've watched, you know, these other things, that you're like, okay, well, this is kind of what I've come to expect from them. And so like I may not necessarily recognize this as their best work. You know, that's why I think context still like matters a lot in these conversations. You know what I mean?
like I think like overall I would say the animation of Demon Slayer is like maybe better than like Fate Zero, but that's like a almost 10-year gap.
Yeah,
Like, it's just kind
that's
of
a
like the
long
logical
ass time.
progression in my mind when I
Mhm.
see like how much they've improved.
Yep.
But that said, that's the first thing. Like I feel like it definitely, the context matters a lot when you're trying to think about like, especially like episodic, like, is this episode a masterpiece within a series? Because like sometimes it's, you can't just like take something out of context, show it
Yeah.
to someone and say have the same emotional reaction that I did, you know?
Mhm.
That's insane. Like in the OP thing, the OP
Yeah.
stream, I was thinking about like, do I want to share a One Piece opening? Because like at One Piece opening 14, to me, I literally cried watching it the first time.
Okay.
And like, I can't say that about literally any other opening. But in order to have that experience that I did, I need to tell you to watch 400 episodes of
Yeah.
One Piece, you know?
Yeah.
Like, how am I supposed to explain why this is like such like an emotionally impactful like piece of work, you know?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that, and like for that reason, like when he talked about that specific episode of One Piece, right? That episode is a masterpiece to you because of the buildup, right? Because, you know, 1,000 chapters into it, it's like, okay, now this is what we've been building up to, and so it definitely gets way harder. It definitely gets way harder to just kind of remove singular, you know, aspect chapters, episodes, OVAs or whatever, and designate it as a masterpiece.
Like, it wasn't intended to be consumed that way, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like,
yeah, I agree. Yeah.
The other thing, that was like only the first thing I wanted to say.
Okay.
But the second thing, because you mentioned
Talk your
before
shit, man.
about yeah, but the other thing I wanted to mention was you were talking about like there's something you mentioned about like something being an extension, like judging Spy X Family because there's gonna be more later. I thought about like the opposite scenario because another one of my favorite anime is Psycho Pass, which I think is like incredible. Like the 22 episodes, I think like the dystopian, like cyberpunk, like mystery, crime, thriller, drama, like everything it does. I've seen that show like 5 or 6 times, and I'm still getting like more out of it than I was like the first time, which is like to me insane. But there's a second and a third season of Psycho Pass that exists that I think are absolute bastardizations of the original vision. I absolutely hate what they have to bring to the table. I don't think they're useful, and I think they're garbage. And I think that the first series was a fully complete work to begin with.
Okay.
And so I just think about it in that way, and I'm like, can you taint a masterpiece by like just including more that just sucks? Because in some sense,
yeah, that's an interesting question actually. Because I think I have some examples of that too, where, you know, maybe something could be considered. Yeah, I think it's gonna vary from show to show. Because like, yeah, I think some first cores of shows are actually complete works, like you said. Like you say Psycho Pass. The example I'm gonna use is Fully Cooley, where I think the first 6 OVA episodes, it's a complete work. Like it's just done. You don't have to do anything more. But as we know, they continue to do more. They did a 2nd and 3rd season. They're doing a 4th and 5th, I think. It's just like, do we consider, like, if I say Fully Cooley is a masterpiece, does that have to mean everything altogether? Not necessarily, but I do think that there is something to be said about, you know, there are stories that are not complete by their first core, and so in those cases I would be more inclined to wait to see what happens. I haven't read the source material for Spy X Family, so I don't know where the cutoff point will be, but at least for now, I mean, first of all, I don't think it's a masterpiece anyway. I do think it's very good, but I don't think it's a masterpiece anyway. But I would be more inclined to call it a masterpiece if I just had everything in front of me, at least for this core. We could talk about part 2 or whatever down the line whenever we figure out where it finishes, but like 5 episodes in, like I just feel like I can't yet, you know what I mean? I could never have that conversation. I could never ever have that conversation.
I was gonna bring up this is a show that all of us have seen and neither one of us thinks is particularly amazing. Death Note, like Death Note.
I was only gonna like inject that like after, because like, well, you can go ahead.
Yeah, it's just, you know, 2/3 of the way. I mean, 90% of people watch anime.
Yeah, we know how this goes. Yeah.
Yeah, 2/3 of the way through Death Note something happens, and like everyone agrees that the first 2/3 of Death Note is better than the last third. And like whether you think it's a 10 or not, or a masterpiece, whatever, that's up to you. But there are definitely people that think, oh yeah, this was a 10, and then it was not.
Yeah. So like I personally don't rate shows until they finish, like until course finish. And so like in Death Note's case, it's very cut and dry for me. Death Note to me is not a masterpiece because of the lackluster second half, because that is all a part of that is all Death Note, right? That is all part of the original vision. It's all part of the same work. That is different, I would say, than like a season 1 and a season 2, because that's Death Note is still all the same show.
Khalil, did you watch Bakuman or no?
I haven't. No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh, it's only Bobby and I. All right, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Bakuman's hella good. It's one of my definitely like a top 3 show for me, and whatever. I love it. But like one of the things that I really love about Bakuman is like it's the Death Note duo worked on Bakuman as well. And like you just kind of like through Bakuman, you like get into like kind of like their framework with how they like felt about Death Note, because like Death Note was a thing that like they didn't want it to end because it was really successful. Yeah. And then you know stuff happened.
As in like, you know, the fans, not the creators.
Yeah.
No,
Shueisha, they're the ones making the money, but
I don't even think it's the fans. I think it's just like the people working on like the people. You know, the ones
like
telling
editorial, like
there you
go.
You know,
I was gonna say, I was like, yeah, you know, there's a word for this, right? Like,
I I blame Jeffrey because he said fans, so I said fans. Like, wait, no, that's not right.
Yeah, so like what Kakashimoto sings, he says Death Note's in my top 5, definitely changed your mindset, and that's fine. That's absolutely fine. But the thing is, like, not everything that meets that criteria necessarily has to be a masterpiece, or necessarily can be a masterpiece depending on your criteria. I think I have like 10 10s or something like that, 10 or 12 10s or something like that.
I definitely have
only like
10
one or
10s.
two of those. I think I have 10 10s and only like one or two of those I would consider masterpieces, even though I think they're 10s.
Be like Dylan. Dylan's got 110 forever.
I have the one true one, and that's it.
Platinum Man.
Oh, I mean, like the 1 through 10, really.
Yeah, I remember.
I guess I should have brought this up when we were talking about masterpieces, but I feel like personally, I can only really have one masterpiece. Like, it is the frame. I don't want to say like the reference for. I don't want to say it's like a reference to like a comparison point for like other shows, because obviously that's impossible. But like, masterpiece is always something that, like, if I had to pick one media thing and one media thing only, this is the thing I'm going to pick every single time.
Okay. So
Honestly,
this is
like
your-
I respect that a lot because, like,
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
Klo said, like we have like multiple 10s, but like you having like 110 is like super like indicative of like what you value.
Yeah.
And that's not something I feel like I can do myself, because I think, like, personally, I believe that there's like multiple ways you can like hit the peak in any given medium. Like, there's no like one like surefire way to do it, and so like me having multiple 10s is kind of like my expression that that's how I feel, you know.
And I get that, and it's just, you know, on like a personal level, there's always just going to be that one.
Yeah.
So
no,
like,
no, that makes
so
sense.
me-
To you, Ivan, bro, we're making them pay for that. Back up. But we're making them pay for that, bro. Back up.
Oh man, shooting
You
people
fucking-
during the podcast,
bro.
I
You
can't
fucking
believe
up the whole flow, bro. You stole my whole. He stole my whole. What a bitch, bro. I was gonna say, if we, you know, we get some gift subs, maybe we'll drop the any list for people. But Jesus Christ, man. But yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense too. So like, to you, there's like, you know, there can be only one. There's like one show that defines the medium for you, and so like you can't in your mind like have, you know, multiple that fit that. And I think that's also fine. I think that's an also a reasonable interpretation. So like, once again, like just like when we talk about rating shows, we talk about you know, context and also reasonability. It matters a lot to me. I care less about your score on your show, more so about what led you to make that decision.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
care way more about that. And so like, numbers to me don't really mean a whole lot. But as long as your ideology is good behind it, then, or at least it's you know, logical or not nonsensical, then I'm like, okay, that's cool. I'm perfectly fine with that. I have people that, you know, I have literal like 1s and 2s on my list that are 10s in some people's minds, and they've been able to explain to me why it impacted them so much, and I'm just like, that's cool. I'm fine with that. That's the beauty of the medium. That's like what we're here for.
nah.
It's for
People
different
give Kuroko a 10, and I don't understand it.
There it is.
Why are you like this, bro?
Bro, I watched Kuroko when I was in high school, and I was like, yes, basketball. People say this is good. I got so mad. I was like, what? Where is it? What is it? What am I missing? And I still don't know what I'm missing. I still don't know what I'm missing. I'd love to know if someone can explain what I'm missing.
Yeah, I feel that. I definitely feel that.
Watch Kuroko,
maybe-
you gotta remember that it's actually Dragon Ball Z. you
Oh
know?
my
No one told me
god.
that when I got into the show.
Oh my god.
I think for I mean, like, when you think about it, like, most anime fans aren't really particularly sports fans in general.
True.
So like, when they see something like this where it's like really exciting
Mhm.
and really cool in their eyes, and they kind of have no real knowledge of like the game itself, you know, it's going to naturally lend itself to being like a 10 for them, or
Yeah, but-
10 for some of them.
Yeah, but Slam Dunk came up before Kuroko, and Slam Dunk made people basketball fans. So like,
Okay, but let's be real. If you tried watching the Slam Dunk anime, it doesn't age that well. It's very dated. There are probably a ton of people who don't even know what Slam Dunk is. Like, people don't understand that Slam Dunk's cultural significance is the reason we have Kuroko. But, like, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Like, people just don't know what it is now.
Yep, I agree.
Yo, Bobby.
Here's a question. Oh,
Bobby,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. We gotta enlighten Goten because he just said I've never seen the Allure sports anime.
Oh, yeah, we could literally do a whole episode on sports shows. But okay, so here's a question to you all. So we talked about, you know, defining a work as a masterpiece, and then talking about does more being added on, like in the case of Psycho-Pass, and maybe it necessarily not being as strong, does that take away the masterpiece status? This question is kind of adjacent to that, where do you think that as time goes on, like something that you give a masterpiece can no longer be a masterpiece with time, just the way that the medium and maybe as genre advances? Do you think that something can fall out of that status, or do you think once it's a masterpiece, it's going to be a masterpiece for all time?
Personally, if you like asked me, like my philosophy, like when I like give something a 10, is that I don't believe I would give it a lower score than that. Like I don't think I've ever like moved like a 10 down from, you know, where I initially put it.
I definitely have not. Because we're hard to get 10s out of in the first place. That's something that
like it's like such like a like 10s are definitely like a personal thing. Like, you know, like I said once upon a time that like 10 is just like a 9 that like hit differently for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Whereas like, you know, 9 is like the more like indicative of like, you know, that level of quality that you would expect from something rated that high. So like I definitely think that like age is definitely a factor in some things. Like some things haven't aged well. Something, this might be like a hot take, but I don't think something like Bebop has aged well. If anybody has like, probably like, I don't think that's a popular opinion, but like to me, like Bebop is kind of like crusty.
That's such a nasty adjective to use.
Yeah, I don't think that was the hot take. That was the hot take there.
I have like non-anime watching friends that like watched Bebop just because it was like, I don't know, it was on Hulu, and they just kind of started watching it, and they're like, oh, this is dope, and like they watched like in 2021 and stuff. So I don't think it doesn't age well.
Okay.
I think it's a little bit overrated. It's still good, but like,
no, let him explain. Relax. You listen, guys. If you're in my chat right now and you're listening to this podcast and you're getting mad, you're missing the point. You guys are missing the point. The point of this whole podcast is to give you guys perspective, and kind of, you know, educate people. And so like, you know, don't get mad at him without listening to what he has to say. And even after he says what he said, don't get mad. It just be like that. Now go ahead, Jeffrey. What you got to say about Bebop, man? Why is it
crusty? Was probably like, you know, a heavy word to use. Like I just wanted to like express that like I personally like didn't think Bebop was like all that special when I first watched it. Granted, it's been like years and years and years since I watched it. It may not have just been my cup of tea, that type beat. But you know, to me, I think like if you release like Bebop like nowadays, like there's definitely going to be like kind of like a culture shock, not culture, like a reverse culture shock where like you could feel the age, you know. Something like I haven't seen the series because it's like hella long and definitely like elitist, but like something like Legend of the Galactic Heroes is another thing that like comes to mind.
Oh my god.
That has definitely like shown age, and even though like people who have seen it like call it a masterpiece nowadays, that I don't think it would be like very easy to get a lot of people on board with that. With that mentality.
Yeah.
So if it was like, you know, if I had to like give a binary answer or like can something like age out of a masterpiece, I would say like, yeah, I think it can.
Okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. So here's a question from Renzo. There's a lot of people that consume the medium but don't really understand how to articulate why a show hits them. Like yourself, you love Haikyuu and Arcane, but you're not educated enough in the art to know what really went into the series to make it hit you so much. Do face value comments hold any values as backups for scoring to me? So, if you're asking me in particular, I'm a very reasonable person. I recognize that the amount that I have watched from this medium is excessive. and an overwhelming majority of people will never even reach my current number of hours watched on anime, let alone what it's gonna be at the end of my life. And so it would be foolish. It would be foolish for me to assume that everyone must adhere to the same, to the same values or even have the same perspectives that I do, just because most people are not going to see that level of shows. That being said, right? That is why I care more about your reasoning more than your scores. The numerical scores, I think people get tied up in way too much, because it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, I could walk up to you and say, I think this show is good, and we could have a discussion, a very well thought out discussion about why I think it is good or why you maybe not think it is good. And I think that is what's the more important part, more so than giving things numerical scores. And that's why I think things like the smiley system on AniList are very valuable, because there's a lot of people that cannot articulate a 7 from an 8. What's the difference between a 7 and an 8 to you? If I asked you, you probably wouldn't be able to tell me. But what you are able to tell me is, this felt good to watch. I enjoyed this. This is something that I would watch again if I had the opportunity to. And so, like, yeah, no, people having face value like that matters a lot, because you got to understand most analyses of of shows in a whole are gonna be face value. There are not many nerds like us doing deep dives into the intricacies of a medium. That's not common. It's very not common. Why do you think AniTubers have like millions of followers and shit? That shit is not common at all. And so, like, yeah, no, there's value to it, for sure. But
it's definitely like a pet peeve of mine. I talked about this the other day, but like, it's really what you said. Like, I just need people to like be able to like articulate and vocalize their thoughts on why they enjoy something or why they think it's good. Like, that's really all I care about. And some people aren't willing to. I would say like most people aren't willing to put in that effort. And like this kind of like goes into like kind of like, two like binary like factions that like pop up in any like in any media where like there's like casual and elitist. It's like very easy to like see in something like anime, where like, casuals like just want to enjoy the things that they watch, and they call anybody who like thinks too hard about it like, killjoys. And the elitists on the other hand will like call like people who they see as like casual and like, simple-minded, generally speaking. That's how it goes. And it's one of the reasons why like any Twitter is like just like so like intrinsically toxic, is because like both sides like have like a decent like probably like the same number of like people like backing them, and they will literally like never agree on anything. Yeah, what?
Sorry, I didn't know you were done.
But yeah, like it's just annoying to me, because like whenever I try to like articulate and vocalize my thoughts on something, I get called like a killjoy. Like people like say like, why don't you just like enjoy the things that you watch? I'm like, I'm like trying to like qualify or like rationalize like why I feel the way I do about the things I consume. Now, is that like more effort than most people will put in? Yeah. But in my eyes, like I don't think it's like too much to ask if like I were to like probe somebody into trying to like reason out why they think something is good. And that's just the type of person I am. And if I don't get people like on board with like what I have to say just because like they have like different values from me, then so be it. We'll agree to disagree. But yeah, that's just kind of like what I wanted to share about that there's like there's two types of fans essentially.
Miguel?
I think it's like fine if you like can't articulate it or don't know how or don't know what exactly it is, because like one, especially with a number system, it's like what separates 7 and 8 is arbitrary for like everybody.
It's
like, all of us here, we kind of like to put as 5 as like average. Well, a lot of people think of 5 as like bad because of whatever. 1 to 10 rating system, they kind of think of it more of a grading system. So 6 is a D, 7 is a C. Whatever, which is like a problem with the system, but whatever.
Yeah, the way, it's not even their fault. It's just,
it's how most of us grew up in. It's like we don't work pass fail. We don't work like with like an even thing. It's just kind of like 5 bad F, and it's like okay, hard to work around. So the numbers doesn't really matter. But I'm gonna bring up Dance Dance Distort really quickly because what Renzo said made me think of it. If all 5 of us have seen, I don't know how. I don't know if they have, but it's just there's like a small part in the show where it kind of goes into like one of the characters is technically better, but the other one has like, we could just call it like that X factor, the it factor, the whatever.
Mhm.
And like there were two fans watching the performance. One was someone who knows more about ballet than the other one,
Yeah.
and the other one is more of like we'll just call them casual,
Yeah.
like casual fan, or not even casual fan. They're just viewer.
Yeah, spectator.
Yeah.
essentially.
I'd
They're just
never
saying what they feel.
watched. Yeah.
Just a guy.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Literally
They're just
a
saying
guy.
what they feel, and they see this person is like, whoa, he jumped higher, and it's like, and the other person just gets mad. They're like, higher doesn't mean better. And
Yeah,
they
but
just
his
have
technique
pure-
is not clean. Yeah, no, it is a really cool part of the most recent episode.
Yeah, if you haven't seen the show, it's awesome through 5 episodes or whatever amount of episodes it is. And that last episode, if we're gonna talk about like a 10 out of 10 like episode,
Just
I'd call that
fantastic
a 10 out of 10
episode.
I did. God, I loved the last episode, bro.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
Like,
Definitely amazing.
And
Oh,
I
God.
love, and both of those fans, or not, I call them fans. Both of those viewers were valid. One is viewing it like in a technical aspect. The other one's just like watching the performance, and they resonated towards different people because of different reasons. It's like, oh, this person's technically more beautiful. This one's like, whoa, look at this freak.
The funny thing is, it's called Dance Dancer. If someone can grab the AniList page for him and
I
post
got
this in the
you.
transfer him.
yeah, I got you.
So when we're talking about this, because this is actually it's a pretty interesting discussion in and of itself. And so like, you know, I have been, I think all of us at this point have probably been called elitist in some way.
Yeah.
And it's because you know, it makes, I feel like part of it comes from like a feeling of inadequacy that people get when that's not really the purpose, right? So like people ask you, like, why don't you just enjoy the shows that you watch? Well, if you ever talk to us about shows, you will know that we really enjoy shit that we watch. Like, really enjoy shit. We like shit that we watch so much that we're willing to write paragraphs about about it. It's how much we like the shit that we watch. And
We
so
like shit we don't even think is good sometimes.
yeah, no, exactly. And so like it is not, I think you know, people being more open-minded and more you know, accepting of other people's perspectives is what's most important, because I do think a lot of the conversations that happen in a community like this is very dispassionate, and it's very tunnel vision. They only think about it from their perspective. They're not thinking about it from the perspective of other people. And that's why every time someone asks me for a recommendation, I always ask them, what type of stuff do you like? And then I go from there, because you would never be able to find something that just applies the same way to everyone. That just doesn't exist. There are shows that appeal better to wider audiences as a whole, of course, but like when it comes down to it, how the fuck am I supposed to know if you don't tell me? I don't know how into anime you are. You might have seen 280 shows, and so like that completely changes what I'm gonna offer to you, as opposed to someone who this is your 5th show watching. Those things will naturally be different. And so I wish people were better about this, but unfortunately, with this many people, I just don't think it's possible to get better in a meaningful way.
I definitely think it gets,
Go ahead.
yeah, I think
Go ahead.
it gets a little fucky, like especially because like you guys in the call right now, you've heard me talk about this show, but like Darling in the Franxx, I think is so flawed, so horribly flawed.
Yeah.
But I can't lie and say that I kind of like talking about why I think it is, you know, because it's such an interesting case. Like, and there are definitely guilty pleasure anime that I have.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
there are shows that I really enjoy that I don't think are good. Just because I speak ill will of like a show doesn't mean I'm not enjoying it. Like, I definitely can, like, I don't think being like just a spectator and being like an analytical elitist are mutually exclusive.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I definitely think that
Bro.
like you can definitely have like a bit of both in you, you know? Like the things that I like about like some shows, like they don't need to be spoken. If I just enjoy it, then like I enjoy it. And if I can't put into words why, then I'll try to look into it. And if I really can't, then maybe it's just actually bad. Who knows?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
It
I mean,
depends.
bro, like I'll literally give you guys an example so you guys can relate better, right? I like edgy magical girl shows. Now, it's not a matter of like, do I think every show is good? Like, I know Madoka is good. I know Madoka is just it's a really good show, okay? But there are shows that are not Madoka that have definitely taken inspiration from it and are not nearly as good, that I still find enjoyable because they're so fucking funny. And they're not trying to be funny, but they're just really funny to me because of like their attempted mimicry. They're like, you know, we're gonna try to take the charm from this show that, like, you know, kind of redefined what the genre meant and sometimes seeing the interpretations are fucking hilarious. Like Sight is hysterical. It's so bad. It's so bad. But holy shit, it's so funny to watch because it just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like Magical Girl Raising Project. I don't think it's a super good show by any means. But I had fun watching it because I'm like, bro, like it's fucking magical girls in Hunger Games. Like what the fuck is going on here? Like
that kind of goes into like what Jotun asked, like paraphrasing, like he said, like can something like be considered a masterpiece if it's like, you know, trying to like copy or like replicate something that came before it? And I think like that's like a good instance where like you know Madoka like changed like the landscape of the magical girl genre, and shows like Sight and Raising Project came along trying to like capture like the same essence of what Madoka did, just like in slightly different ways. Like you said, like Raising Girl Project was like Raising Project was like, you know, Hunger Games, like X Magical Girls, and Sight was just like, God, it was such
chaos
a train wreck of,
incarnate.
It's so
what the fuck
bad.
moments.
Bad X Magical Girl.
Yeah, and like we can safely like say, like, you know, as people who have like watched all of those, that like the latter two like definitely like don't succeed to the same degree. It doesn't like follow up on like the same virtues that like Madoka tried or you know succeeded at executing, you know. And so like that, like not every like scenario is like that. There are definitely like series that like come along that like try to hone like established like standards for something. Like I probably can't think of one off the top of my head, but they definitely like do exist.
Every
Was
isekai should copy all the ones.
Yeah, Isekai's a good point actually.
I mean, what was like the first like isekai that really like broke through? Was like, was it ReZero that like people,
I
I mean,
like,
the first isekai that like
really-
made it
Oh,
a
man.
really defining genre is probably Sword Art Online, right?
Yeah.
Like, 'cause
Yeah,
the genre
definitely,
technically always existed,
Yeah.
but it was I don't exactly, right? Like it always kind of existed. It's just I think Sword Art Online was the thing that inspired everyone to copy it.
Yeah.
You know, to like try and like
SAO
have
is
that
what made it
same-
mainstream. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like ReZero was like kind of the same idea of like kind of subjugating the genre, like it executed in a different way that made people think that this was, you know, because after the isekai wave was pretty crazy. After SAO, it became like
You're talking
pretty
like
much
it's
the
not
most
still going
common.
on, bro.
yeah, I'm saying like but SAO, those like SAO, right? And ever since SAO, there's been an absurd amount of isekai every season. Like it
Yeah,
has
like
been
half
it is
every
like the most common genre out there right now. Like there's
There were-
never
there were
if you're an
things before
isekai fan,
SAO.
you're eaten. And I'm jealous of isekai fans because you'll never run out of shit to watch ever. You'll never ever run out of shit to watch. There's so
There-
much
there
shit.
I think like there was stuff before SAO. Like I think Astro World came before it, or it might have
Yeah.
been right after. I don't know.
Seen it.
And like
Oh,
I think
Dot-
even Log Horizon did, right?
Log Horizon, but that was after. Yeah,
Oh, was it after? Oh, okay.
I don't even know. When did SAO come out? 2012.
2012.
Yeah.
Yeah, about that time. 2011, 2012.
Yeah. I don't know. Dot Hack. I know that one came before.
Yeah.
That's about all I remember.
I mean, you could say like there's that one shonen that none of you have probably heard of, Prince Awakens Romance or something.
I
That
actually
like
have heard of that.
it aired on Toonami, so
Yeah.
it's literally an isekai. Like kid goes into like video game esque world, becomes like dude shonen bro tag.
Technically.
Speaking of like
Technically.
actually, oh, were you?
Inuyasha could technically be considered
An
a
isekai?
isekai.
Yeah. No, it is. I mean, it is for all it's like. If you really look at it, like it is essentially an isekai for sure.
So like, what I just wanted to like chime in with like what Joten's like question was, because he was
Okay.
like something with an identical formula. Like, that is considered a masterpiece? Like, can it become better? And like, I don't know. Do you think modern shonen are better than Dragon Ball Z? Because like, I feel like
yeah, it's hard to say.
probably yeah. Like,
Yeah,
it's
I think they are.
I think that like when you look at that question, it just makes me wonder like of examples of that, you know, like what are examples of things that were quote unquote masterpieces that were, you know, I guess power crept, if you want to use a gamer term. Like what has been power crept as like the top king of like their genre. And like when I think of stuff like maybe Dragon Ball Z, like I think that's why things like JoJo's are such an anomaly, because like it's
Yeah.
just kind of evolved with the times, you know.
Mhm,
Like
mhm.
people definitely talk about part 1 of JoJo's being like the weakest one, and I think that might just be because maybe it power crept itself in a way.
Mhm,
Like,
mhm, mhm.
because I think of like DBZ, and I'm like, do I like Naruto or DBZ more?
Mhm.
And I think it's easier for me to say I like Naruto more. I think
Mhm.
it's easier for me to say I like One Piece more. You know, Bleach, that's questionable, but I'm just like, there are definitely things that are considered kings of their genre
Yeah.
that, in my personal opinion, I feel have been dethroned by other ones. So I think it is true that things that are quote unquote masterpieces can kind of be beaten. I
Yeah.
do think it's possible.
I could definitely agree with that. I mean, it would be selfish. It would be selfish for us to say otherwise, because like, man, anime nowadays are so good compared to what they used to be. Like, if we're just talking about as time goes on, studios are so much better at doing things than they used to be. And so like it would be crazy for us to be like, nah, these anime that aired 20 years ago, they're untouchable. Nothing can ever be better than them. I really don't like that ideology. I think it puts too much emphasis on nostalgia. Now, you can like something because it has a very special place in your heart. Maybe you watched it growing up, maybe you saw it on Toonami, maybe you don't have much exposure to the medium as a whole, and it's one of the few shows that you've seen. That's all fine and dandy. But when we're talking about a masterpiece, if we're gonna give this term to something, it's like hard. It's like hard to look at a genre like shonen and be like, yeah, dude, like, these shonens nowadays are good, but they'll never beat shonen from 20 years ago. It's like, I don't know if that's the case, man. Like, I don't think that that's the way that I'd like to think about things, personally.
I randomly like think on some days that like, man, like I've seen like so many like things that I consider like, the peak of the medium. Like the most like recent time I thought this was like right after I watched like the Shogo Gakeki Revue Starlight movie for the first time.
Yep.
That was like at the end of like January. I literally thought to myself, I sat there like after I watched the movie and thought to myself like, man, is anime ever gonna hit a peak like this ever again?
Mhm.
And
It will.
It really, first of all, it really was that good.
Yeah.
Second of all, like I want the answer to that question to be yes, because
Yep.
as I established like earlier on in this podcast, that I'm more of like an objective like viewpoint type person.
Yep.
Because like it helps me like believe that things can always be better and we can always like strive
Same.
for a better version of ourselves or a better version of our art or anything that we create as like human beings. But sometimes like I look at like what I've seen, I'm like, man, is anything gonna like dethrone like what I have like deemed to be peak? Like I want to say like, yes, it is possible, but like it's definitely gonna take a lot.
It's difficult. It's not easy.
Yeah.
And that's the only reason that it's difficult, I would like to point out, is because we take so much time to actually think before we rate things, right? It's much easier for someone who's more inclined to just give something a high score for whatever reason without really thinking about it, to just replace that with whatever happens to come out next. Like, I literally look at people that have like most of the things they watch are 10s. They just like everything, right? And so like whatever comes next for them, whatever they watched most recently, it might just be what they like the best for any given time. But yeah, that sense of objectivity, like to add more evidence to your claim, right? When Kobayashi 1 came out, I was like, wow, this is like peak slice. Like, this is insane. Like, I don't know if there'll be anything that ever fucks with this like this again. And then Kobayashi 2 came out, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, what? How did they do this? This is crazy. Not only, I like season 2 a little bit better personally. I think they're both incredible. They're actually both 10s from me, but for them to go above and beyond, right? A follow-up from the same season, from the same studio, nonetheless, it's like, wow, these guys are cracked. These guys are really cracked. And okay, so like, right, and more kind of deviating from the genre conversation, right? We talk about what makes a good anime. And you know, there are a lot of different things that go into it. We talk about like the audio visual aspect. There are people that, you know, focus on narratives. There's people that focus on characters and whatnot. And so like I definitely think that some shows or some works could be considered masterpieces in like just one of those categories and maybe not in others. And I'm curious as to what you guys have to chime in on that, because the biggest example, right, is we watched fucking Bubble, bro. I think Bubble.
I didn't watch it.
I have not yet, actually.
Okay.
Only Yumi and Bobby.
Okay. So I won't spoil anything with the narrative, but I watched Bubble, and I'm sitting there the entire time thinking that this is a masterpiece from an aesthetic standpoint. As far as art, animation, and soundtrack go, I think it's like pretty insane. But it might not be in other aspects. Like, you know, there are other aspects of it that I think maybe aren't as strong as those. But I think in some aspects, like, you could consider it, you know, an audio visual masterpiece. It might not be a masterpiece of narrative. It might not have the best, you know, might not have best other aspects. And I think there's a lot of shows that perhaps that could, you know, that could be something for you, that maybe you think a show has really good characters, but, you know, the things surrounding it maybe are not that great. Like, I don't know. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, like the first thing that like comes to mind when I think of like a work that does like one aspect of it like better than like everything else it does, and also like better than any other show that like came before it, is like Made in Abyss and world building. Like that's the first thing that I think of, because like obviously like Made in Abyss is like quality in like more areas than just world building, but to me like the way it handled that aspect, like nothing even like comes close in my opinion.
Yes.
Just like how much like that part, like the world building is like integrated into like, you know, every other part of the series. Like the reason why I think like Made in Abyss has like the best world building is because like we experience it like along with like the characters themselves, and like it's very like integral and like intrinsic to like the journey that they're embarking on, and like what the series has to say about like, you know, like humans like desire to discover new things and explore and learn, and like that is all like tied to how its world is structured, like going down like the different layers. Like it gets more and more dangerous and risky, but like the characters can't help themselves like wanting to like go deeper. And this thing like includes like both like, you know, the protagonists and like the antagonists, who are like, you know, they're very like different in the way they do things, but like fundamentally like they have that same desire. And it all comes back to like the world building and how well it's like integrated into every part of the show. So like to me, like Made in Abyss is like a masterpiece. Right, maybe a better word would be like master class in world building is how I always describe it.
An atmospheric masterpiece, I think Made in Abyss is.
Yeah, so like I would think like Khalil would be like more inclined to like call Made in Abyss like a masterpiece, like in general, like not just for world building, but for other aspects. To me, like, you know, Made in Abyss like definitely like around like a top 15 series for me. And that is because it does this better than any other series that I have experienced, you know?
Yeah, for sure. And like that speaks in part to that subjectivity that we're talking about. Like, even if we're trying to be as objective as possible, right, there might be some parts that we interpret to be, you know, better or worse depending on just kind of, you know, perspective and the way that you look at things. But you know, when we're talking about good shows overall, like it's actually so funny, because like most of the time when a show is good, like you just kind of know, like, you know what I mean? Like something just somewhere along the way, you're just like, yeah, no, this is this is pretty good. This is pretty good. Now, like, and so that's why I was like, you know, how Renzo said earlier, like, you know, those face value evaluations, do they have value? I think like almost all of the super nerdy types like us start there. At first, you know, you're watching a show, you don't really know what to expect, and then, you know, you kind of get this feeling like, oh, this is actually doing something pretty good, and then you do like deeper dives into, okay, what is actually happening here, what's the technicality behind it and whatnot. So it's actually a very interesting conversation for sure. What do you Bobby, Dylan, and Miguel, what do you guys think about things being masterpieces or master classes in certain aspects, but not in others.
It certainly applies. I don't know. When we ever, like, if we're talking about like masterpieces and like certain technical aspects, I always come back to like Ufotable and Fate.
Fate boy.
Yep.
In Fate Boy.
And it's just, you look at what they do visually, and it's not just like the animation they put on the screen, but I feel like their shot compositions are also like really creative and really cool at points to where it's like, I don't think I've seen this from like anything anywhere else.
Mhm.
That just makes it kind of like a peak audiovisual experience in like in the visual aspect.
It's like a mark of like undeniable quality. Like if you have eyes and ears, like you know that like Fate and Ufotable is quality, you know?
I remember when we just put, I think it was Fate Zero's OP or Stay Night. It was like, well, this isn't open.
And you can certainly see it when you like compare it to like Dean Stay Night as Bobby knows.
No.
I want to quickly talk a little bit about Haruhi, just because like
Oh yeah.
this is a show I watched it with Jeffrey because he basically forced me to watch it, and like
Do you have any regrets, bro? Do you have any regrets? Miguel, you cut off again. Hold on.
But
Nice.
I'm good at this in general, but like when I watch Haruhi, the facial expressions that like Haruhi and especially Nagato character, nothing
Hang on.
about her really changes that much.
Miguel, 1 second. You're a robot.
Damn it,
You fucking
Speak.
up over there, boyo.
am I back?
I
Yeah,
think
you're
yeah.
back.
I don't know
Start
what-
over.
Yep.
I was literally fine like forever, whatever. So like when you watch just like minute changes in like Nagato, like just like her facial expressions, it's like you clearly see like it's like, well, there's something here. It's like even though like she herself isn't really acting very differently, you like see like these little things like making it really clear. It's like, well, there's a deep change going on in this character. And Haruhi and Kyon, like whenever they have like their back and forth too, it's like, so like I would just say like this is a KyoAni strength in general, but like Haruhi's ability to like capture the facial expressions and body languages of their 5 main characters. Koizumi is another one where it's super prevalent. It's just pretty amazing to me. I don't know. It's just
Yeah, like you said, that's just like a calling card of like KyoAni. Like in my opinion, a KyoAni is like uncontested in character acting, which is like, you know, considers things like facial expression, body language, just the way the characters like move and animate. There is no studio that does it better than them. And you know that goes into like what you said, like with like the facial expressions like being like extremely like, you know, expressive. Lo and behold, like facial expressions have to be
No
expressive.
way. What the fuck?
But yeah,
like even like Nagato's a character who her expression doesn't really change very much, but you're seeing like small things that it just feels so clear when you're watching it. It's just like someone who's barely changing anything about her, really. Like, yeah, like
especially when you know what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
Were you
Yeah,
saying
That
something,
tweet
Bobby?
on the screen is so funny. Like,
Oh yeah, yeah. This,
Oh, this
I
this
love-
one-
this is what I'm talking about.
I gave Khalil this tweet. I said, like, first of all, you have to decipher the Twitter grammar, you know.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Backlash.
He backlash. Yeah.
I just like, oh my god, bro. Like I feel like I was talking about before, like when I first started, when this podcast first started, I was talking about how like I think some people get that feeling of inadequacy, and some I don't think it has to be that way. I think these people conjure these feelings by themselves, because like none of us at least are out here like doing things like some of these other people are doing. We're not out here being like, wow, you're a fucking idiot for liking that. What the fuck are you doing? Except, you know, with Dylan in some of the shit that he watches. But other than
Hey, what do you
that-
mean?
But and so like, you know, I wonder like are people making tweets like this because, you know, maybe they just had a bad experience in you know, on any Twitter. I'm sure there's been plenty of people that have had bad experiences with any Twitter, And so like, you know, in that aspect, like I get it. Like you probably had some dickhead that bothered you about a show that you liked or something, and that made you feel really bad, and so you push you push that onto everyone that, you know, wants to talk about the intricacies of shows and look at it in a deeper way. And I think, you know, it's unfair that they had to feel that they had to experience that, but it's also unfair the way they're pushing that onto other people. And I actually think that the comment below is actually the complete opposite of the way that I think. Like this right here. Why do people make it so complicated? Geez, like it's just fiction. Like I have never contradicted a statement more than this one sentence on twitter.com. Like I just can't. I can't vibe with this statement at all. I can't. There's no part of me that could be like, yeah, why? I don't know. I think I've just been like this for so long that I can't vibe with this statement.
It also is just like hard because like this is just like due to the nature of like, you know, social media in general, more so than it is about like, you know, the conversation that we're having. But like the people who will like respond and interact with you on these types of sites are the people who disagree with you, you know?
Yeah.
You'll rarely get any like engagement where like, yeah, I think the same way.
Yeah.
Smiley face.
Comment.
Yeah.
There's a like and retweet for a reason.
Yeah.
Comments are always just gonna be like, there's no dislike button, so you're always gonna get the comments.
Yeah.
Because that's really the only way to express how discontent they are with your opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you agree with something, like you just be like, I like this, and move on. Like I'm just
and like because of that, like, you know, Twitter is just like, you know, one of the many like things that like it's just hard to like engage with, because the only engagement you are going to get is people who are going to oppose you and resist you and like, you know, think and express like how like your opinion is trash. You know, and that doesn't feel good. So, you know, I sympathize with people who like don't want, who like, you know, have ever like felt like they've wanted to like engage or share their opinion but just haven't been able to.
Yeah.
You know, that's why we're here, bro.
Exactly. That's we are the shining beacon amongst all the garbage.
We will listen to you. Like we like take more than like 2 seconds to think about like what we want to say about something. Like we don't like write off anybody's like opinion as invalid without good reason.
Yep.
It's just like, you know, it's just the way it is.
We just have a different value set. We're just really built different out here. You know what I'm saying? Just.
I mean, like when I see this guy's reply, dead inside, like this guy's reply, why they make it so complicated is just fiction. Like when I look at that, I have a feeling of like, damn, that is like the most like offensive thing I've ever heard. Because like
That's
I don't know,
bro.
It almost implies like the people making this are just making things that are like supposed to be brain dead. You know?
Yeah.
Like it almost implies that the people like putting the work in to make this stuff like are almost like not putting in effort, and that really does not vibe with me well. But at the same time, I do think that this person has some sort of like, there are shows that exist for this person. Data Live has 4 seasons for a reason.
Yep.
Data Live has a fan base for a reason, and I'm not going to take that away from them. I just will stay away from that with a 10-foot pole as long as I can. And that's okay. I think that it's okay to be like, to have shows for different people. And I think that saying that it's just fiction is the wrong way to look at it. You know, it's a lot more granular than that. Like maybe you want to say Spy X Family is one of those shows that are not supposed to be deep. And I don't disagree. And I think that I think it's perfectly fine the way it is. I think it's great the way it is, honestly.
I think regardless of whether, you know, the medium is fiction, but like the experiences and the emotions that people experience while watching these shows, those are very real, right? Those are not fiction. And so like writing something off as, you know, just fiction, why would you care about it? It's like, bro, that's so fucked. Like you don't understand how much some of these shows mean to certain people. Like there are people whose lives have literally been saved by anime before. And you know, there are people that will laugh at that notion, but I've met people that have been saved by shows. They found a show that really resonated with them and kind of gave them a reason to keep going. And so like I could never write off an entire medium like this, like, oh, it's fiction. Like it's not even just anime, bro. Fiction as a whole. It's like TV shows, movies, like like video games, like so nothing like
it's honestly just really reductive of like the creator's intent and like how much work they had put in to make something like this.
And you know, a lot. That's an aspect that a lot of people don't pay attention to either, right? Like, even people that watch a lot of anime might not think about, you know, the humans behind the anime, how much time and effort that animators put in, how much work it takes to you know create a complete work and push it out, and that's why when we see people, you know, freaking out about, you know, the next season of Attack on Titan or Tower of God and literally harassing studios, it's like, bro, like, you just don't get it. You don't get it at all.
I remember there was
don't
like this
understand.
time period where like there was like an earthquake in Japan and people were like reacting negatively because like the Attack on Titan episode got delayed. And it was like, yo, where are your priorities right now? Like, do you
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, bro, like,
Jesus
what the
Christ, bro.
fuck?
like this was like a few years ago. I don't remember. It might not have been Attack on Titan. I think it was though. But it's, I don't know. Like, I
Here we go. Miguel needs to get better internet. What?
Bro, what man keeps getting yeeted?
It's so funny.
How
Miguel.
much do you get? There's a good
Guys
question
weigh
in
in shock
chat.
value. Okay. How much do you guys weigh in shock value when rating a show? Shock as in the show doing something unexpected or out of the norm. So, when we talk about shock value, it's a little complicated, but like, I would say that the follow-up is what matters more. And so like, you can have something that is very shock value, but it only elevates the series if the follow-up is strong. And so like Goblin Slayer, right? Goblin Slayer opens with shock value in a big way, but afterwards I feel like it's very lackluster, and so I am not compelled by the shock value at all. I think in some ways it's I wouldn't say low effort, but it is easy. It's easy to do something crazy to get people talking about a show, but it's not enough. Usually the shock value is not enough to hold a show up on its own. It needs to have its own merits as a complete work in order to keep people's attention. But some people just do like saying fucked up shit though, so like, you know, they might be along for it, but at least for me, like, yeah, I mean, it might have shocked me, but like, what's gonna happen after? There's still 12 episodes left. What's going on here?
This is just like a personal value of mine, but like, to me, like, the shows that like can maintain their quality or even like get better on like repeated watches are the ones that I like consider like really, really good shows. Like, and you know, if something is like heavily reliant on shock factor, it'll like show like on repeated watches, like, man, this didn't hit like the first time. And to me, like, that is like kind of indicative to like how like, you know, not actually valuable that shock value has for a show. It will always like get you the first time, but like, you know, on repeated watches, it loses its effect, you know.
Yeah.
Maybe like this, I guess this is technically like not like shock value, but like I always like think about like a show like Terror and Resonance. I don't know how many of you guys have watched that show.
I saw it like years ago.
It was like Mappa's like first show, like, legit. That's a type of shit that's like during the show, like, I thought it was like very, very underwhelming for a majority of it, but the ending was like actually like really, really cool.
Okay.
And like, but to me, like, it came across as a show like, man, I would only want to experience this once, because if I feel like I go back and watch it, I'm just going to like remember everything that is like, you know, not adequate about it. And I kind of want to let the ending of the series like kind of sit with me and not really like taint that, because I didn't think that the rest of the show was good. But I guess it's like a similar idea where, like, you know, one part of the show might like do something for you and it might diminish over time, and it's like, to me, like, there's like not much stock that goes into that.
I definitely.
I'm done. Go ahead.
I think that, like, for me, the show that pops into my mind the most easily is ReZero. Like, I think on a first watch, ReZero is like, it's like one of the most like great anime experiences I think a person can have, specifically on the first watch. And I do think that besides the shock value, the show is still like pretty solid. But I think that, like, if you watch it one time and someone says this might be my favorite show of all time, you know, like, I'm not gonna fault them. I think that the twists and turns of like the narrative are extremely compelling, and I think it takes the series into places that are still pretty good, but I don't know if I feel like on repeated watches the show really
Holds up.
like holds. Yeah, like the shock value gets your foot in the door, and like to Ivan's like follow-up statement, he says, I feel like there's a trend of popular shows banking on it just to get even more meta about like why like this is probably a thing. Like I feel like it's just among the sea of anime, among like like shortening attention spans of like audiences, like there's so much anime out there that's like on the surface pretty cool seeming, and there's so much that really like it's so hard to get people's attention nowadays. Like there's so many
That's
things
facts.
trying to grab your attention and take your time.
Mhm.
So I feel like it's almost necessary that a lot of shows feel like they have to, you know, do something wild to like grab attention just to get their foot in the door.
Yeah. Also,
It's-
like another thing, I think most people who are like into like any like medium that you can like watch or like experience like don't rewatch things too often.
Mhm.
I feel like it's just like most people are like a one and done. Like I'm gonna watch this once, I don't really have a reason to like watch it again type thing. We're special in that like we want to like really like solidify like what we think about the things that we experience, and so we do repeated watches for those that we think deserve it.
Yep.
And most consumers of anime are not like that. So, from like a creative standpoint, maybe that is like the allure of like shock value is like, oh, we know we're gonna get them on like the first time. They're not gonna watch it again. We're done. Like that's what we set out to accomplish. And thinking about it, like, cause like I don't understand it because like I rewatched a lot of things, and I think a lot about things like after I watch them. And to me, like that's why I don't put too much stock in shock value. But other people are different. Other people will like just grasp onto like their first experience with something, and then that is like definitive for them.
Yeah.
And yeah, so.
Yeah, I mean, I think some shows are also meant to be enjoyed in different ways. Like when Bobby talked about ReZero, not only do I think it's like really strong for like a first watch premise, I also think it's one of the few shows that's better watched week to week than altogether, because of the way that they structure their like cliffhangers and whatnot. It kind of put in a lot of emphasis on that, and so like it felt like the full experience was watching it when it was new and airing week to week, and just kind of waiting for a week to see what was happening next, which naturally some people don't want to do. They're like, fuck that, I just want to binge and whatnot, and that's fine. But I do think that some shows are designed around that very meta aspect of this is a weekly airing show, and so we're going to abuse that as much as we possibly can to get people compelled and whatnot, because like almost every episode in that show is like a cliffhanger pretty much.
Oh yeah, I've seen ReZero I think like 3 times, because I've watched it weekly the first time, and then I watched it like with other people like in the other cases. And I definitely can attest to that. Like on my first viewing of ReZero week to week, that one episode where like the ending just kind of like literally freezes.
Oh,
I think you know what
yeah.
I'm talking about.
Oh, bro.
My brain broke that
Bro,
week.
that was so cool. The one where he was holding her and it was snowy and his head fell off,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
They painted that like that was the end of the show right there with the credits and everything too. I was like, holy fuck.
Yeah, dude, like yeah, when you see that the first time, your reaction is like, bro, are you fucking kidding me? And then the second and third time, you kind of know it's coming, so you're like, yeah. It's still like a cool scene regardless, like aesthetically and everything. And like it's reasonable that they get to that conclusion, and then how they follow up from that is, par for the course. But it's like it's never gonna hit you like that first time.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that. Okay. I think that's probably good enough on the masterpiece stuff. I did want to do a quick segment where we talk to people kind of about like how you guys are feeling about some of the shows airing this season, because we are pretty much at the halfway point for the season. I know some are like in episode 5. There's some weird shit that's only on episode 3, but we're past the 3 episode rule on most shows, and in my mind there are already some clear front runners, but we're not all watching all of the same things either. So especially those. Like I kind of wanted to get you guys ideas on and what you've been feeling. Like I haven't been watching what is it, Papiri Kome? Like I haven't started that yet.
Is that Kong Ming?
Your boy, Kong Mei.
Your boy Kong Ming.
Yeah, I think coming into the season we talked about how it was like rom-com season.
Yeah.
But I think from like after watching like a bunch of shows, I feel like the best shows of the season have not been almost like any of the rom-coms.
I mean, like,
okay.
it's.
That's-
I don't think that was like.
Yeah,
an
granted, I'm not
expectation or
watching
anything.
Kaguya, but you know.
Kaguya is
okay.
fantastic this
Hey,
season.
Yeah.
Like,
That's pretty important.
my God, bro.
That's a big caveat.
Yeah,
First,
yeah, for
first
sure.
episode was pretty good for Kaguya. I've only seen it.
He's not caught up yet.
Most recent episode, like, dude, like this was like honestly, like this is probably like the best time to like bring this up because like man, every weekly show like came through this week.
Yeah,
honestly,
great week for
like,
seasonals. Yeah.
There were so many good episodes this week. Like
Absolutely.
freaking like Densor, like Kaguya was fantastic. I watched that
Heroin
today.
was very good.
Yeah, Heroin
Summertime
was really
also
good.
really good.
Rika Koi was
really good, yeah.
Rika Koi freaking played with us, bro.
Yeah, they really played us in Rike Koi. Holy shit.
Spy X Family was fantastic. Aoshi had a really good episode.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yes,
it like yeah, I said that first, bro. Are you
Oh.
kidding me? But
It
The
really
list was
be
so
like-
long, I like literally forgot.
It was a really long list.
it
It'd be
was
like that.
I mean, just
There
goes
were a
to
lot of
show,
good
like,
shit
it
this
was a
yeah.
good week.
There's a lot of good shit
But,
this
like,
week.
I don't know, like I guess maybe to like frame a conversation, like what do you like now that's the halfway point? What do you guys think is like the like your personal front runner? Because like I don't think that we can like say like objectively like what we think is the best because it's
Yeah.
not done yet, you know?
Yeah. So if we're talking about like what has maintained my intention the most this far, like of course like Dance is up there. I think Dance and like I really like Heroin. I can't lie. I really
Dude,
like
same.
Heroin.
You and I are the only ones watching it though, so
Oh, okay, yeah. No, I really like how Heroin is fleshing out, you know, and more to that as well. Like I think those are the two that like if you ask me, what are the strongest this season? Now keep in mind I'm also not watching Kaguya, so I don't have that. I don't have that on my list at the moment because I'm not caught up. But Dance, Heroin, and I don't know how Summertime's gonna play out, but I think it could be amazing. You know what I mean? But it's 24
I feel you.
episodes.
I think so.
You,
I think
you know
so
what
too.
you know what I'm saying? Like I think it could be incredible. I just don't know if it'll end up. It's 24 episodes, so I just don't know what
Like,
to
I-
expect.
It's ambitious.
Like,
Yeah, it is. It really is.
just thinking about like the external factors that are going into Summertime. First of all, like it's based on a manga that's finished and it's 24 episodes. So
Yeah.
to me, that's like that indicates that like there really should be like no problems with like pacing and sequencing its events.
Yep.
It should be like very well thought out how it's going to like play out. And you know, as of right now, I think it's doing a really good job. Like
Yeah.
to me, it feels very much like that Higurashi vibe where it
Yeah,
makes
I'm
you like
actually
very,
compelled
very
by the
unsettled
mystery.
and like you know not like in cheap and shallow ways, like just
Yeah.
like putting gore everywhere.
Like
just
what
like-
actually is gonna happen? I have no fucking clue. Like I just don't know.
yeah,
every week.
it really captures like that eerie feeling that I get so rarely from things that I experience. That you know, I really hope it turns out well, and I think it's going to. So
Yeah, it seems strong right now, and I'm sorry if you're watching this podcast and you're fucking pissed that I didn't say Spy X Family. You know, it is what it is. It's a very good show though. Like obviously we all know it's a good show. It's just that like you know, there's something to be said about like expectation, and whatnot, and definitely like Spy X Family going into this season. You know, expectations on it were extremely high by, you know, the greater masses. I'm a hard person to please, okay? It's a good show, but it's hard for me to say it's the greatest thing ever created, you know? That's just how I feel. But it's definitely top half of shows I'm watching right now. I think at least I would put it in
for
the
sure.
top half. Like it's very strong for sure. But
For
it doesn't
me-
have to be the best, you know. It
Yeah.
doesn't. Oh yeah, what you got, Miguel? What you got? What's the bee's knees for you this season, bro? What's
For
up?
me, Aoashi just hits because I
Yeah.
love
I knew,
soccer.
I knew, I knew you were
yeah.
gonna say this, bro.
Yeah, I love soccer. So like, and soccer's the most beautiful sport ever, pretty to me. And like, and like, I've always wanted to see a soccer anime because I feel like it could have been really interesting. Because I feel like it'd be hard to do well because there's 11 players on the pitch. Like when you're playing, so it's hard to like, well, 22 players, 11 on each team, and like it's hard to like kind of give everyone that attention. But soccer is a sport that kind of captures the moments really well. So like, if the anime does it well, it could. I'm excited to see like these potential moments, and it's like a character growth thing. So it's not just like him getting better like as a player, because that would be kind of boring.
Yep.
But so yeah, I'm that's the show I'm most excited to watch every episode, like every Saturday, just because I just like soccer a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, hey, that's valid.
yeah.
Just fuck it.
Me and Miguel watched the most recent episode together, and he was just like nerding out to me about soccer, and like I was like really down for that because like there's like there's a level of like knowledge, like we talked about this like during like the sampler, but there's like a level of like knowledge that like you as like an animator like probably don't have when it comes to like doing like capturing something like a sport or something that's just like niche in general. And according to Miguel, who's like very knowledgeable about that, it's capturing it like pretty faithfully, which there is something to be said about that.
I mean, we've felt that you and me have felt the same way about Hibike, right? We have that different perspective.
Dude, I could I could like do an entire podcast by myself and like one other person, and it would just be me talking about this.
Talking to them.
Yeah.
Bobby, what's your standouts this season, man? What
All
are you
right,
feeling?
so first off, the current One Piece arc is kind of insane, but that doesn't
No,
count.
I've actually heard a lot of people talk
Outta
about
here,
that.
bro.
Yeah, I've been seeing more and more One Piece stuff come out.
Yeah, no, I
recently.
mean this current arc is genuinely insane. Like there's problems that have plagued the One Piece anime, but for some reason this entire arc has been they've been pulling out the stops like every like week consistently. It's kind of insane. But that's like kind of less of a seasonal, more of like this is just gonna keep on
This
going.
will
until
always
it
be
goes.
there. Yeah.
Yeah. Going into the season, I kind of expected this to, and it's so far been following through like as well as I could ask for. But Dance Dance Censor, I think, is probably my number one of the current season. I think,
what's up.
yeah, I think Kaguya is also super good, but it's like a little, I don't know, it's like cheating because it's the third season of a show that the first two seasons were great. So like,
It doesn't have to
It's just
do
kinda
it. Work as hard.
You
Yeah.
can't say that after the first thing you talked about was One Piece, bro.
I'm just saying. Okay, but like real talk, like it's going par for the course, and par for the course for Kaguya to me is great. So
Yeah,
that's
okay.
awesome.
That's something to be said for sure.
Yeah, and
I feel
Yeah,
the same way you feel about Kaguya. It's how I feel about Komi right now.
yeah. For me, like Komi's actually been kind of like middling, and that's not because it's bad. It's just more of the same, which was good. So I'm
Yeah,
not
that's what I'm saying.
complaining.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
this is definitely Komi too. Like, I'm like it's definitely what I'm watching. The cast is batshit insane. Like it.
Yeah.
I would love this. Obviously, doesn't make any sense, but you should just put the Shikimori cast and the Komi cast in like one episode.
That would be funny as hell, bro.
That would be awesome.
The rom-com multiverse,
Oh
bro.
my god, bro. Things would get so out of hand. Holy
It's like
shit.
crazy that Shikimori is such like a low-key show this season, I feel like, because I feel like in another season this would be the show of the week. Like this is the show of the season in like another season.
I kind of like that take. I think this season is abnormally strong.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
abnormally strong to the point where like I was talking to Jeffrey about this yesterday, where like when we do our weekly viewings and we watch our 11 or 12 shows, usually it's like usually like 6 or 7 of them are like really, really good, and then there's some stuff that is like very lackluster. But like this season, it's really like all the shows are good. All the shows are good except for Tomodachi Game, and I knew right, and I knew Tomodachi Game potentially wasn't gonna be that good. But like I just don't really care because like there's just so much other good shit, and I'm not even like I don't think any of us is watching absolutely everything this season. I'm not watching everything, but like, man, the lineup is like crazy strong. Like it's
Yeah.
pretty crazy. This season is
It's
nuts.
extremely like solid. Where like there's so few things that like if you picked up like the first episode of a show, you probably like didn't drop it like by now.
Yeah,
you know?
I haven't. This is the first season in a long time. I have not dropped a single show. I have not dropped a single show, and I'm watching 20+ shows. So like that just says something.
So many.
That has never
that's
that has
crazy.
never happened
Even-
before. Like that is
Even like even the bad shows are like pretty fun to watch. Like Birdie Wing, I think is like not
yeah,
good.
yeah. I
But,
don't
like,
think it's
Birdie
good
Wing-
either.
dude,
But
Birdie
it's
Wing's
so
so
fun.
funny.
It's so
I'm-
fun, bro.
It's not good, but I'm so down to watch it like every episode because it's just so like nonsense.
It
Even like the bad shows, you know, are like at least fun to watch this season. It's like kind of
fucking-
insane.
They fucking CGI flexed us in one of the episodes. I was like,
They
bro,
did.
what
I was
the
literally
fuck?
saying, I was like, this is like some of the best CGI like in
What
like a
the fuck is
primarily
going
2D
on?
show I've seen. Like, why are they doing this?
What are you feeling? What are you feeling, Jeffrey? How you feel about the show? this season, man?
You know, very similar to how you were feeling. Like Dancer is definitely like my personal front runner. Like
Mhm.
everything that this show like has been since like its first episode is like exactly like what I wanted. Like, you know, it's a show about passion, and like, you know, that's
Mhm.
like we've
Love that.
seen those types of shows before, but I'm just like always down for that type of thing. But I really like how it's handling like, you know, the social aspect. Like it establishes that like Junpei like kind of grew into like what he was at the beginning because of things that
Product of his
were like
environment. Yeah.
because of like, you know, peer pressure,
Yep.
the expectations that like he had to live up to like his dad's dream.
Mhm.
And he kind of just like grew into like this like, you know, typical masculine high school boy. And you know, it's very like evident that like he doesn't feel happy like this, and he like, man, just the way he's growing into himself, and like especially in this most recent episode, is just like it fills my heart that something like this can like exist in anime. You know, the show is definitely gonna like mean a lot to a lot of people.
Mhm.
I feel, and you know, myself included. Like I really feel this show. And it's like its production value is like really solid, and its peaks are just like, man, like if you haven't seen the most recent episode of
Such a
Dancer,
flex,
like
man.
go
Such a flex.
watch it, bro. Because like that's definitely
They did not have to do that. They did
pulled
not
out
have
all
to.
the
I'm
stops for
so
that
glad they did. I'm so glad they did.
But yeah, like my sleeper pick is like, you know, Heroine, because like, you know,
Yeah.
me and you are the only ones who are watching that. Like
Yep.
I say this is like my sleeper pick because like in reality I wasn't expecting much from the show. Like when I like, you know, read about what it was, like the only thing that really caught my eye was the fact that
The
it has the
cast.
strongest VA
Yeah,
cast
it's
that
ridiculous
I've
VA
ever
cast.
seen. And you know, that was enough to like intrigue me. But like I really like enjoy how the show is like shaping up. Like,
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
considering that like, you know, it's a show like entirely based on like a song, which, you know,
Yeah.
to some degree it might as well be an original. Like, let's
No,
be
it
honest.
really
Like,
is. No,
Um,
that's what I've been treating it like.
But yeah, it's another one of those passion shows. Like it really like does a good job like respecting, like depicting like the respect and admiration for somebody who is passionate about what they do, and that type of show is always going to resonate with me. And you know, it just hit its halfway point. Like its most recent episode was like fantastic at like kind of rounding out the first half. And yeah, like if you haven't like given it a shot, like I would honestly like recommend, you know, just try it. Like
Yeah.
maybe you'll like it.
I agree.
I guess I'll be the one to talk about Spy X Family.
Yeah, sure.
I
Well, hold
think- I
on.
think it's-
Before we talk about Spy X Family, though,
Oh.
I think there's one more person that hasn't given theirs yet, right?
Oh yeah,
is it
yeah, yeah.
Dylan?
Go.
Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, if on a quote unquote objective level, like Dance Dance
Mhm.
probably hits the most this season, but on a personal level,
Mhm.
I'm really digging Executioner.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I'm.
I don't know if it's like I had like low expectations for it just because it was like JC staff and it was isekai. Or maybe like just the novelty of it being like an isekai, but not your like super typical one.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm just kind of digging the whole thing right now. And I think the OST goes way too hard.
I feel
Yeah,
that.
bro.
I definitely
yeah.
feel that. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, let's talk about Spy X Family, because you know it can't be an anime discussion without talking about this show this season.
Yeah. Like the thing that like I'll say that probably like is like outside like the normal conversation for the show is like I think it's like really doing an amazing job at like playing to the strengths of both of the studios that are working on it. Like
yeah,
when I watch like an episode of like Spy X Family, like everything that like goes into like the Christmas and like the fluidity of the action sequences, like I just see this is Wit's forte.
Yep.
And to me, like a hallmark of like Cloverworks is how they've learned to handle like, you know, character acting, like facial expressions and whatnot. And
KB.
I think that's another yeah. That's another thing that like shines through in the show. Like characters like Anya like are like the most identifiable examples. Like her faces are godlike, extremely expressive, and they just like add to the experience like more than like any other like studio I would imagine if they were working on this, you know. Another thing, because like I keep up with like a couple of like, you know, translators on Twitter who like kind of like share more about like the ins and outs of like, you know, who's working on any given show during seasons, and like kind of like the how they're going about like adapting certain things. You know, I don't read the manga, but I've heard people like sing praises that like all the things that the little things that they're adding to the show are doing it a lot of good, because like a lot of like little character moments, like if you've seen like the most recent episode of Spy X Family, like there's like a little like prayer dance that like Anya does, where she's like you know, dancing around with like her Chimera plushie, and you know that type of thing isn't in the manga, and you know it showed, like, to me that's like a sign that like the anime is taking is able to take a lot of liberties in order to just elevate the experience beyond what the source material could do in certain areas. Like I'm not going to say like it's definitively better because like I literally can't, because I don't read the manga. But I'm saying like, you know, as like an anime watcher and knowing that like it is an adaptation of something that is like highly successful and very popular, that it's very likely an adaptation that you should be proud of, I think.
Yeah, I mean, just to put it in perspective, like I also did not read the manga. I made a comment on that dance, not having any context or any knowledge of what was in the source material or not. And so that alone says that, like, you know, that obviously it's something standout that even people that aren't just looking at it as a straight adaptation and are evaluating it as a standalone work, like there's still something for them, which I think is really important when we're talking about, you know, animating something that is very popular. But man, these two studios, this powerhouses together on a project is just really just a spectacle to see. Like I said before, like I it's not the show I like the most this season, but I am enjoying watching it every week for sure.
I mean, just putting it like, I am a manga reader. I have been reading Spy X Family since before the anime was even announced. Like, I was like, I've been reading Spy X Family and watching it like every week to week, like the episodes still feel short. Like, I think that this show, like, the adaptation has been doing a like absolutely fantastic job, and I'd honestly, if they keep it up, I'd be comfortable with saying that it's like better than the manga, which is insane because the manga is still really good.
Yeah.
So it's not like, because it's not like they're bloating the source material or anything like Shonen might like have to suffer with, and it's not like they're cutting anything like super necessary, you know, and they're executing everything like almost flawlessly. It's like the aspects that make Spy X Family are being adapted in a way that I don't think any manga reader can really complain about. Like it's really like only an improvement from the source material.
That's all you can ask for, bro.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really.
Yeah.
What more can you ask for? I mean, some people would ask for it to not be so popular, I guess. But you know, it is what it is.
I mean, like I said, like I literally know everything that will happen.
Yeah.
And I also kind of don't, because there's some small scenes that like are really, you know, they just surprise me, you know.
Yeah.
But it's really cool. Like the little sparkle effects that like Anya does when she like is reading people's minds.
Yeah.
Listen, I'll be honest. I know 2 other people who read the manga. I asked them, because I had to go back into the manga and I had to look
It's the
And
thing
I
about
asked
it.
those people, did you notice those sparkles in the manga? And they were like, no, I thought that was just an anime thing they were doing. And I was like, dude, they've been in the manga the whole time. You just you can't notice because it's so subtle. Like it's, but like it's just cool. It's
Yeah.
watching it like it is like there's a value that I'm experiencing watching this because a lot of times when I read the manga for things, I don't feel the need to watch them. I'm sure that's how Dylan feels because he's read the manga for a lot of things
Okay.
currently airing. But like, and that's typically my feeling. But I don't get that with Spy X Family, and I do think that's just a testament to like how good the adaptation is.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of a Haren? Because I am like so in between. Because I watched the first episode, I was like, this is gonna be so incredibly mediocre. And then I saw the second episode, and I was
So,
laughing my ass.
so the
He's-
thing, the thing about Aharon is it's demonstrating. Is he lagging?
Is he still talking?
Is he lagging?
Alive?
I'm not talking.
Okay.
Okay, go.
Okay. So the thing about Aharon is it's kind of adhering to my secret rule of comedy shows, right? And that is it has to be funny, right? And no matter what, if you're a comedy, if it's not funny, it doesn't matter. And so like while I think that there are some parts of it that are pretty weak, it has really funny moments and like it's unpredictable. Like I just don't know. Like literally I have no idea what's gonna happen every week. Like I've never been so lost in a show. Like it just like all right, I'm loaded up this week, they're gonna be fucking skydiving and then one of them's gonna forget the parachute or some shit. Like I that could legitimately happen. Like I just really don't know what the fuck they're gonna do. And so like it has definitely had some really, really funny moments because it's all over the place though. Like it is really it is really all over the place.
Yeah.
Just don't,
Yeah,
it's,
the thing about Aharon to me is that like most rom-com nowadays are like very character driven, it's all about like the quirks of the characters and how they synergize with each other. But like for something like this, it's very much reliant on like the scenarios it draws up because like I always think like back to like how my first impressions of this series were like I called it diet, and I still stand by that like it doesn't really do much like executionally that is like very standout. I thought it was interesting that the two leads were like very chill and docile, and I was wondering like how they're going to make a whole show about that. And I think it's like following through on like how I originally like my initial impressions like pretty well, as in it's like exceeding them because like the scenarios that they drop are like really funny in the way that they play out. And to me that's like kind of like not unique, but like kind of like rarely seen in rom-com nowadays because of how character driven the genre tends to be. Not that like there's like no like influence like from the characters that contribute to like why the show is like funny, because like it definitely is, because like they're both just like chill and like they're homies with each other as opposed to like being like romantic interests.
romantically inclined, yeah. There's also tons of references in this fucking show. Like Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
The
But no,
rain.
it's stacking up to like the other like rom-coms or comedies that I've seen. Like, it probably like doesn't hold a candle to them, but like I'm still enjoying it, and I think that there's something to be said about that. Where like I can feel I'm enjoying the show.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm trying to like rationalize a way that I would enjoy it. I'm just enjoying it.
Yeah, it's not a chore to watch at all.
Is there anything else that
Is there any other show that we want to talk about?
Cuckoos.
I'm watching
I haven't started Couple of Cuckoos yet.
It's so funny. Every
Oh
week we get to
my
watch
God.
Miguel's copium levels rise to an abnormal level,
So those
an
of you who-
unhinged level of copium.
That's
So
funny.
those of you who are unaware, we talked about this during the season sampler, but like Naoto Oyama, like voicing a character in a rom-com is usually like not good for the fans of Naoto Oyama. She is almost
Is she
fated
literally-
to lose.
She's literally
And go ahead.
the last episode was a good one for her. She's got this.
Was it, bro? Was it?
It's copium, bro. It's too insane.
Miguel is like battling like 100 to 0 odds right now. Like he's like hoping for the biggest upset of the century and rooting for the character voiced by Naoto Oyama. And like honestly, like I think it's gonna be like really funny, like watching and like talking about this show week to week. Like not even like on any like level of like intelligence or rationality. It's just like, man, like this is literally like a waifu war in 2022, and it's hilarious.
Daemon is cool.
Yeah.
I need to start. I'm gonna start.
Yeah, I need to start.
I told Bobby and Dylan to watch it because like I traded like Executioner so that they would watch like Daemon. Like honestly, like I think it's like a really like solid slice of life for reasons you probably wouldn't have expected. Because like to me, like when I looked at the show and like I thought it was just going to be like a story of like, you know, the two main characters, like the kid and or Itsuka and Nagumu, so like the kid and the adult. But it's got a lot more characters than I thought it would be. I thought it would have have like a lot of focus. And
Agreed.
Like it's episodic and like it focuses on like for like the first like 5-ish episodes, it focuses on a new character every single time. And to me, like I really like how it's shaping up because you know, the full title is like Daemon like Recipe for Happiness, and like to me, like that's kind of like it's like, you know, thematic backbone that it's kind of like leaning on, is that like, you know, all these characters have like a different like idea of happiness, and the way that is either like maintained or changes over time is like, you know, it's very like soothing to like think about. And you know, if it keeps that up, and if it sticks to like what I believe it's setting out to do, then, you know, I'll have no complaints. It'll be like, you know, that slice of life that I watch every season that like gives me like the warm fuzzies, you know?
Yep, I feel that. Yeah, I mean overall just a really, really strong season. Lots of fun.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah. Did you have something to add?
Nothing. No, it's nothing.
Go ahead, bro. If you got something to say it. What the fuck?
It's about Tomodachi Game.
Okay, what's up?
It's nothing big, but I remember I was I think this was the one show I had pegged for garbage this season. Like I let myself get baited by the first episode. I was like, oh, okay, this might not be bad, but then it deteriorated. Like I looked ahead to the season, and I was scouting for something I could watch with Bobby that I know was going to be trash, and I'm so glad I hit it head on, because the show's so funny, dude.
All I could say is normally when me and Dylan are like having our night where we're watching like all the like intentionally, like we're just going out of our way to watch bad anime like from the season. This time around, it's so hard to find like bad anime that like half of the things that we watch are not even bad. They're like good.
Yeah.
Like it's like ridiculous. Like it's difficult to find a bad show this season. Like we had to like really find the go into the trenches of isekai to like really find something bad.
True. Delve where no man has ever gone before.
Yeah, that's like.
Yeah, and that's actually really funny. Did you guys see the article I posted where, you know, Seed of Evolution is getting an English dub? That shit, bro. I was laughing so fucking hard.
I salute the English voice actors for putting their name on this series, bro.
Hey,
You are
unbelievable.
Actually crazy.
Now I need to know. I didn't finish this. I didn't watch the rest of the series. I think Jeffrey and I watched like episode 1 or 2. But But did they say that apparently there was a thread on AniList where they said a slur in the 3rd episode? Did that happen?
I don't remember, bro. I can't lie to you. I eject that show from my mind.
That's literally saying.
Apply a little brain bleach to that show.
Yeah, I can't. Unfortunately, you're gonna have to watch the episode if you want to know, because I have no idea.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it'd be like that. And the last thing on the docket is, of course, you know, I got to bring this up. They did a stream on Thursday where they talked about Made in Abyss 2. And so they did a stream on YouTube. I woke up at 5 a.m. in the morning for it. Yeah. It's
True
not the
fan, bro.
This,
True
this is not the
fan.
craziest thing I've done for this series, by the way. I woke up at 5 a.m. It was not English subtitled at all. There were no English subtitles, so there were actually people in chat like doing translations, which was really cool. I thought that was a really
That's
cool
OD,
thing.
actually.
Yeah, no, it was really cool. It was literally just random chatters that were like, okay, I'll translate for you guys so you guys can follow along. And so, bro, I don't know what it is about this show and its staff, but they like go so ham with their extra media on top. Like they put a lot of work into the show, and like we can recognize that already, but like their like reveal shows and their stuff like that is like really high production value. I was like, they had a bunch of like, you know, character standees around. They have merch show us. They have all the VAs from the show there. They brought in the director. They were talking about the creative director's birthday and shit. I was like, what is happening? This is insane amounts of stuff to announce. And so the main things that we learned from it were that the ED is Myth and Roid, which is a W, a really big W. Love their stuff. And then they also dropped a PV. They also dropped another PV to Made in Abyss 2, and so I just figured
I did watch that.
Yeah,
by the way.
yeah. We're gonna check it out real quick. I'm gonna have to blur this on YouTube because obviously they block it. But I figured we'd watch that and then we'll do some closing statements and then get out of here. Oh my god, it's so loud! Holy shit! Oh my god!
They gotta make sure you hear it, bro.
It's always so loud. Fuck.
深海六層、人が決して帰ることを許さない絶海。ここか。
素敵な出会いの予感がするぜ。
なんだこいつらは。
すごい。何ここ。まるで市場。
そう、市場。価値の市場。
まあ、ファプタってよ。どういうやつなんだ。
はで前、ファプタ。教養語での意味は何と言ったか。そう。姫。慣れ果ての姫。
お前どうした？ここのことも忘れたぞ。
おめえの価値はロボとふわふわに使うな。いい子はここで果てちゃダメだ。
できる限り早く去られる。我にファプタは止められる。
私を呼んで。
And so yeah, this airs in July. Oh my god, I can't believe it's so soon. Like fuck, man. And even in this
literally tomorrow,
bro. there's a lot of shit in this trailer that's like holy shit, man. Like, is this another White Whistle? Like that's what it looks like. So this is like is this another Sovereign we're gonna learn? Like, I don't know, man. There's so many things going through my mind with what this series could be. And one thing I was thinking about was like, I hope that I don't know how long the chapters are of the source material, because it's one of the shows that I actively go out of my way not to read. But I hope if the chapters are long and it takes time to adapt, that they don't limit themselves to only 12 eps. Because like even the original was like pretty long, standards, because like it was 13 episodes and the last episode was double. And so like 14 episodes, like those 2 episodes can make a real big difference. It can make a real big difference in a show. And so I really hope they don't hold back. And I honestly, I don't really have a lot to say. Like I just am very excited to watch it. I'm very excited to watch it.
We need it now, bro.
Yeah, I know, bro. It's been...
Honestly, like the speculation aspect makes it worse because like we just want it, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh, let me watch the show, please.
Imagine if this show came out this season, dude. Then
oh no,
it would be.
Oh my god, bro! Like
that would be like, oh god,
that would be brutal, bro.
That would be too much.
That would be.
There's so many shows getting shafted by the wayside because there's too much.
That would be so brutal.
You would have like Made in Abyss, like Spy X Family, Kaguya in the same season. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
Komi
bro.
2 is also
and,
very
and
popular.
like you know new shows like
New
Denser
shows,
that
Dance.
we really enjoyed.
Yep.
Like oh my, I
Heroin,
cannot
yeah,
imagine.
it would be that's a
And then
lot.
Annie Twitter is gonna be fighting about which one's the best the whole
Oh,
time.
Of course, and none of them will say this show either. Though
Yeah.
none of them will say this show. But next season not as strong. It does have some like big sequels, I guess. Like I mean, I guess people like Danmachi.
It's gonna be pretty dry, to be honest. For original
yeah,
stuff.
Yeah, like Danmachi, and then like Classroom the Elite. I think this is Domestic Girlfriend. Is this Domestic Girlfriend?
You mean
no, it's
Rent a
Rent a
Girlfriend
Girlfriend.
or-
Rent a Girl. Sorry,
Rent a Girl-
I get
oh,
those mixed
please.
up all the
Neither-
time. I'm
neither-
sorry.
neither are
I'm
particularly
sorry, bro.
good.
I'm sorry,
No.
bro.
Crisis
No,
reevaluated. Crisis
yeah.
reevaluated.
If we're gonna be honest, I think Domestic Girlfriend is better than Rent a Girlfriend.
That's
no.
crazy. That's crazy.
Bobby, we've talked about this, Bobby. We've talked about this and how like two of the characters aren't actually characters.
Yeah, I mean, Rent a Girlfriend pretends to be a harem, but if you watch or read it, you know it's not.
It's not even like a love triangle or anything because they got Nao Toyama to
Nice talk.
rom-com.
Oh, okay.
But we all know, like, even if she wasn't there as the voice actor, you know the character she plays is gonna lose because she has no bearing on the plot whatsoever. Like at any point,
no, he's gonna use
she's literally just there. She's literally the worst character in the show.
That's tough.
Dude, no, I remember that thing that you like that you showed me where like Naotoyama kind of like gave her thoughts on what she felt like playing the character, and it was like very sweet. Like I want to do the best in order to like show like the nuances of this character or whatnot. I'm like, oh my god, bless Naotoyama. These characters don't deserve your voice.
She's so talented. Like it's crazy. It always sucks when talented VAs get delegated to garbage characters.
It's because she's talented that they know she has to carry them.
Yeah. They're like, all right, we gotta get someone really strong to keep people watching, or else turn this shit off. Turn this shit off. Well, yeah, good.
No, that's just looking at stuff for next season.
Yeah. I mean,
that'll be some other time.
That'll be some other time for sure. But yeah, and so as we reach the end, I had a schedule proposition that I was talking about, where like if we're gonna continue doing this podcast every 2 weeks, then I think all of the weeks that we don't do podcast, the in-between weeks, that's where we'll do our either random button, or if there's something coming up that we want to rewatch for something coming up, because that Made in Abyss watch party's coming.
Yeah.
You already know it's on its way. I think that'll
be a schedule
be,
for that, bro. You just do it.
Yeah, just fucking do it, bro. I'll honestly, like, there's no doubt in my mind that I will watch the series more than twice before it comes out.
That's OD, bro.
I am positive I will watch it more than
once a month, bro. You got 2 months left.
So basically, you're just gonna keep doing what you've been doing, right?
Yeah, bro. No. Like I do make it a point to watch it. Like I actually like literally have I watch it every 3 months. Usually. And it's not, but it's not as bad as it seems. All right. Most of the time, whenever I watch it, it's because there's someone that I like that hasn't seen it, so I watch it with them. I usually don't watch it.
Somebody in your chat who says they've never seen MIA, and then you're like, well,
hey man,
I guess we gotta watch it.
If we're not doing shit, then why not, bro? It'd be like that. It'd be like
I think Made in Abyss is probably the show I've seen the most amount of times. And you've seen it like 4 or 5 times more than I have.
Yeah, I think I'm on like 8 or 9 or some shit, something like that.
You're nuts.
Something crazy. I don't know.
Dude,
it's a show I've definitely watched the most with other people. So
not mean to brag, but that's definitely less than how much I've watched my favorite show. Like I think this year, because like I used to watch like Hibike like biannually, so like twice a year, like usually every 6 months. And then I like switched it to like once a year, like after graduation. But like in that time span, I probably like watched it like 10 times. Probably
Y'all
even
cheating,
like 11.
bro. Y'all cheating. My favorite shows are long as
Yeah,
fuck.
it's really long. Yeah, that's definitely tough.
My,
Well, listen, bro.
I can't exactly rewatch.
It got harder for me when the movie came out. All right, relax. It got more
Yeah,
difficult.
the movie came out. Try Monogatari. We have 30
Okay,
movies, bro.
I didn't ask you to do what you. I didn't ask you to be the way you are. All right. It doesn't have to be like so. So yeah. I think that'll be like a really healthy schedule. Because I know there are people that really liked the random button, and the random button is funny as shit. And so I think integrating it in a way where it's like somewhat regular, so people can actually watch. I think that'll be really fun. So we'll probably do that. And we might even like, I don't know, like maybe during like the podcast days we can spin on the podcast, and then you know, people can just
that'll
pile
be
in.
next week.
Yeah. Just so like we don't have to, we can skip the process of like everyone having to pile in and sitting there looking to see to see what we're actually re-rolling all the vetoing process and shit. Bro, like, oh my god,
Alright.
it gets so bad.
Well,
It
do
gets
you want to do that now, or are we just like,
oh
this
yeah,
is just
yeah.
a plan
Let's
for the
fucking
future?
do it. Let's fucking. What was the site? Okay, I
Might
think
as
it's
well.
random anime.
Random
right?
anime generator.
All
I
right.
think, yeah.
Did these go on anyone? Yeah, they go on my channel, Renzo. Okay. This
Alright,
is
let's get
this is the random anime website, guys.
Yo, Telephone Market. I like that show.
Pretty good.
We so what we do here is we go to advanced. We set it to I think we do
Between
max
2
13.
and 13.
Yeah,
2 and 13.
Because then you'll get
'cause
movie.
then you get
You'll
movies
avoid
if you only
movies.
do- Yeah. We do this.
Any-
No, we do. Then we do. Do we do list?
We do list because
We do?
that's how.
Oh,
Yeah, we go
gotcha.
list.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
Veto.
I think
or
we
whatever.
set the
Yeah.
year range, right?
Reasonable range, in my opinion, is like 90s to present.
Yeah.
So like 1990.
Super old shit
Because like
is,
you
like,
know, it has to be
hard.
obtainable in some
Yeah,
way.
Exactly. Okay. All right. Here we go. Wait. We can't.
Yo,
What? I won't let
What?
me.
What?
What?
I don't
Hold
know.
on.
Hey.
The button's grayed out. Why
I
is
think
it-
you have to like try refreshing. Thing.
Huh.
See, can you press it now?
I can press
Or
it now,
just-
but
just
we
hover
lose
over.
our.
Anime.
Oh, hold on. Let me see.
Huh.
Oh, wait,
Is it
What
because the
happened?
list-based anime doesn't have any anime, or is their server down or something? I
Oh,
don't know.
imagine that would be funny as hell.
Like, what if you do AL/MAL?
Yeah,
Like, I'm-
let me see.
Oh no! I think you go AL and MAL
Oh,
and
okay.
not anime.
Okay.
Because anime, I think
Sure.
that's like specifically looking up in anime
Oh. Okay. All right. We got
list.
range again.
Gotta change the years.
Okay. Damn. List. There's
I
something
don't-
just might be fucking up,
Wait,
bro.
no, hold on.
They
don't
won't let me
remember it
click
like
any
that.
of these.
I don't remember it like this. Wait a minute now.
now.
They changed it up.
I think you could just do like. Just go to the
I thought
genre
it was
for a
just
second, because like
anime.
that's the only way.
Oh no! You have to go to advanced or yeah, I think genre is just it because
Really?
yeah, you do advanced and then just genre. I guess.
Okay. Well.
All right, try this. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
that's just fine.
Cabaneri, the Iron
Cabaneri.
Fortress.
Oh
Yeah,
my
okay.
god! What? We got the Centaur show.
Centers live.
Oh my
All right,
god.
are we doing top 5 that we're picking from?
Yeah. That's usually what we do.
Oh god.
What the fuck is this? Soul Bus? I don't know.
I'm definitely voting
I-
for Soul Buster. We're keeping that one.
I ain't gonna lie. I am not feeling any of these.
This is
What is
tough.
this?
Oh lord.
I mean, I put
Comedy, parody, romance.
Oh.
Okay. I've heard people talk about this show, but I've never seen it.
It's definitely like a botched show from what studio?
Wit?
I forget. No, not Wit. I forget. Hiroyuki
I remember
Sawano's
it
on
being
the OST.
Yeah, I know. Eimer does the
Oh, this-
ending.
Oh, it is Wit, bro. That's insane.
No, I remember people were comparing it to Titan. I think at some point for
That's
whatever
Probably because
reason.
it was wit.
I see.
Oh, like look at what they're wearing, bro. That's definitely like omnidirectional movement gear or whatever.
Yeah, that's what's up. That's what's up. It's the Attack on Titan retirement home.
Monster
we're
Girl
not
show,
watching
but
this.
none of the ones I've
We're
heard
not
of.
watching this.
No, we're not watching this.
We're not
Are you
watching
sure?
this.
We're not watching this.
You gotta
No,
think of
we're
the
not.
children, bro.
I like trash, but this is not the
We're
trash I
not
like.
watching this.
Listen,
bro.
Discord
what-
TOS, bro. You gotta watch out.
This is crazy.
I mean, what is the criteria for what we're watching? Are we trying to look for the best show out of these 5,
No.
or like
No.
the worst show?
No,
no,
you're
it's
honestly,
what
I
we
just
want.
look for something
Want.
that. Yeah, just
You
like, it
you
doesn't
picked
matter.
the one.
Yeah,
Your
it
vote
doesn't
goes to the
matter.
one.
The Centaur is like, bro. Did anyone watch this?
I
No.
didn't, but like I
Oh,
know what
okay.
it is. So
Yeah, I've
maybe-
heard of it. I
Maybe
just-
that's where my vote will go because I know what it is, but I
Yeah.
haven't seen it.
This one and Cabaneri are the two that I've heard of. I think I've
Perhaps-
heard of this one too, but
I
yeah.
haven't seen that. I don't
What the
know
heck
what
is
it
Soul Buster?
Oh yeah, I was
bro?
confused
Soul
because
Buster?
there's you remember the original Monster Musume?
Yeah.
Yeah,
They're both called Mon Musu, but they're two different shows by two different studios, I think. And
that's
why,
fucked up, bro. What the
that's
fuck?
why I was like, what the fuck is happening?
What the fuck is Soul
Soul
Buster?
Buster.
Soul Buster's a TV
Oh my
short.
god,
It's only
5
13 minutes.
The sh- It's a
was
short.
edgy,
Whatever.
bro.
Yeah, it's,
Nah,
it's
get the shit.
13
5.3?
episodes.
Let's go. Let's do it.
No,
Oh
I'm
my
down with this. This is
God,
my
bro.
and it's based off a light novel. Let's go.
I'm vetoing, bro. I'm vetoing.
Oh my god. And
I'm
then
cool
there's
with the
this one's a
boxing
comedy parody about boxing.
Honestly, this probably would be my normal
I feel
vote.
like this is the one that I would vote
I would vote for this, sure.
Okay,
Compared to the
well, if you're
others,
down.
I would do
for.
that.
Okami-san. Okay, let me go
And
to the
there's
mouth.
7 companions.
Yeah, let me.
Oh,
let me,
it's not on any legal streaming site, which doesn't matter, I suppose.
Incredible. Wait, when did this come out?
Plan to watch that. This
2010.
Came out in 2010.
2010. Can we even? Maybe we should check before we confirm if we can actually find this shit.
I mean, let me look.
Just steal it.
Yeah,
I know. but, like,
I mean,
let's check. What is this called?
Okami.
Okami-san.
let me see.
Listen, if we tried to watch it legally and we're literally incapable, there's only one way to go.
Yep.
All right, there is a version
Uh-huh.
available.
Yep.
All right.
Yep. Yeah, I see it. I see it
Alright.
here on Yeah, so we should be
It would
fine.
be
Yeah.
better if we get scuffed subs.
Oh my god.
Scuffed subs are
Oh
the
yeah,
best.
horrible subs has it actually. So
Oh, that's insane.
Yeah,
Horrible
Still
subs
waiting
not
for
old.
Bobby's next translation masterpiece.
rest in peace, horrible
Ooh.
subs, man.
Cancer subs, bro. Cancer subs.
Cancer
oh my
stuff. Dude, that was me. Khalil,
Yeah.
you even know that story? Do you know that story
No,
about
no,
me and
what
my
happened?
friend? So the third Berserk movie came out. Me and my friend were fucking down bad for any form of subtitle possible.
No,
So what we did was we found someone's Google translated from Chinese subs of the Berserk movie.
Mhm.
We took those. We took our like high school level Japanese, nothing. Like I say high school, I mean our high school like let us take Japanese as a language.
Mhm.
So we were basically ass. But we did that. We looked at the manga. And we made our own subs. It got put up on Kiss Anime, and they labeled us as cancer subs because we were the worst of the available versions.
That's funny as hell. What the fuck?
Why did you do this?
There was no. I told you in like the first sentence, we were down bad for Berserk movie 3 subs, bro.
That's actually tough.
Oh, I freaking love that story, bro.
That is
Just
Wow.
everything. And the funniest part is that you didn't even call yourself that. You just put it up, and people were just like, "Man, these guys are ass." at what
Yeah,
they
no,
do."
they took it from us, bro. We
Oh
didn't
my
do anything.
God. That's so funny. But yeah, this is what we'll Okami-san and her 7
Oh,
companions.
we're gonna do that one for sure.
Yeah, this is the one we're
Yeah.
gonna do for watch party.
This
next
is an
week.
executive decision from.
No,
Yeah.
boxing anime.
Are we going through with that brand change that you said at the beginning of the podcast?
I mean, I think it sounds better. Honestly, I can't lie. But it's up to you guys. I don't want to label you as something. You
I'm
don't
down
wanna
for
be
what I'm
labeled
down
as.
for whatever. Like this is your show. At the end of the day,
I mean, either way, but it's still a group effort, bro. Like this
Yes.
podcast would not be a thing if it weren't for us watching shit in the fucking auditorium after weeklies. Like,
I don't know if it's just me. I feel like it rolls better if you say like anime sovereigns, but I
Okay.
don't know.
okay.
okay. Okay.
The
That's,
anime
just my,
sovereigns.
that's all my. That's my input.
Okay. But but if we're gonna do it this way, if we're gonna do it this way, you guys have to pick something you're a sovereign of, though.
Sovereign
I mean,
of
I've
slice
got
of life.
mine.
Like I think,
Dylan.
yeah. So Dylan's, I think actually Jeffrey's has figured out too. He's a sovereign of
Yeah.
film.
Sovereign of Film. I don't consider him as an anime.
No,
I
what-
do
what-
love me good anime.
Yeah.
So,
Now, what would you pick for yourself?
I have no idea.
I don't know, slice of life.
Okay.
I do like refer to myself on like social media sometimes.
The Sovereign
as,
of
like,
Slice? That kind of
junkie.
sounds fire, bro. I can't lie.
I'd go with that before
Okay.
film.
I feel that. Miguel?
I have no idea. I have no idea.
Sovereign of Sports.
Yeah, I was thinking that too.
Is that what I am?
I don't know. You can pick whatever you want for yourself. It doesn't matter.
We'll figure this out.
Wait, what?
I'll figure this out.
TBD, bro.
TBD.
Bobby.
Exactly.
Bob, were you to be a sovereign of Bobby?
Bro, I could be a sovereign of anything, bro.
Literally anything.
I'm literally like the fucking like X Factor sovereign. I mean, if no one is gonna take it, I mean, I'm the only one who like keeps up with like multiple shonen. I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
So,
Alright.
Hey, fuck it. It's all,
You would probably be the only one to like, share your input on shonen out of the 5 of us, which is pretty like, I'm not gonna say it's abnormal. It's just like surprising that like, out of like the 5 of us, you're the only one.
I mean, I watch shonen.
I mean, yeah, Miguel watches a lot of
I
shows.
watch shonen. I just don't like it as much, I guess is the term. Like,
I don't know, but Bobby like.
I definitely don't watch
consumes it in
nearly as much.
multiple-
Yeah,
in multiple forms.
yeah, Bobby consumes it
I'm just
way
the
more
fucking.
than we do.
I'm the sovereign of gluttony, bro. I'll just watch anything.
True.
It's,
True. Gluttony. It never ends.
dude, the drip feed's never over.
The sovereign of pain. the sovereign of suffering. Oh my god. Okay. We're out of here, people. Thank you guys so much for
Alright.
tuning in for this week. Like I said, make sure you guys join us for the watch party next week. I'll put details in the Discord whenever I figure out in time and whatnot. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you in 2 weeks. Guys, have a good one.
Peace.
Later.
Later.